So I would like to welcome you to the Policy Answers final event. There are still people arriving in the room, and I'd like to use the opportunity to inform you that we're also having online viewers. We are having this web streamed on our YouTube channel, the Western Balkans Info Hub's YouTube channel. Our project was a Horizon Europe funded project with 14 partners, and some of them you will meet today. We have been focusing on the integration of the Western Balkan countries into the European research area, and today we are looking together at the lessons learned from this process and on the pathways for the future collaboration and participation. My name is Elke Dal. I have been working on the coordination of this project for the past few years, from 2022 to be precise until now. So we had these 4 years of coordination on behalf of my employer, the Center for Social Innovation in Vienna, Austria. And today it's a pleasure to be here in Tirana, in Albania, as well as with the online participants globally. So we will also share the recording afterwards. Our project partner, the National Agency for Research and Innovation, is kindly hosting us. So I give the floor very briefly to our colleague Robert, who is welcoming us on behalf of the hosting organization, Nasri.
Thank you, Elke. Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Dumi, and I am here on behalf of General Director of National Agency of Scientific Research and Innovation, which unfortunately is not able to participate. Also, I have to say some nice words to you. Thank you. Real pleasure to welcome you in Tirana and to host this important meeting. I would like to warmly welcome all participants, both those present here and those who are joining us online. Today's meeting is particularly meaningful as it marks the final phase of Policy Answers project. Over the past 4 years, this initiative has played an important role in strengthening cooperation across the Western Balkans and in bringing our region closer to the European research and innovation landscape. Even though I have only, it is very clear that for us that the policy answer has created real value not only through its outputs, but also through the connections, trust, and shared understanding it has built among the partners. For Albania, this journey has been especially important. It has supported our efforts to better align with European priorities, to strengthen our policy framework, and build institutional capacities in research and innovation. At the same time, it has helped us better understand our challenges, including the need to increase investment, improve coordination, and further involve the private sector in innovation. At the same time, it helped us better understand our challenges, including the need to increase investment. As we reach the end of this project, I think it is important to see this moment not only as a conclusion, but also as a transition towards continuing this cooperation, building on what has been achieved and taking the next step in a more structured and ambitious way. In this context, initiatives such as Policy Enlarge will be very important to ensure continuity and to further strengthen the impact of our joint efforts. From our perspective, regional cooperation remains essential. The Western Balkans share many common challenges, and by working together, we are in a much stronger position to address them and to integrate more effectively into our European research area. Let me conclude by expressing my sincere appreciation to the European Commission, the project coordinator, and all partners involved. Your work, dedication, and collaboration have made this project a success. I hope today's discussion will allow us not only to reflect on what has been achieved, but also to look ahead with clarity and confidence. Because in the end, this project is not only about results, but about the connections and trust we have built together. A moment that we have now, that we now have the responsibility to carry forward together. And I am confident that the partnership built here will continue to grow and shape our future cooperation. Thank you very much, and welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you. And as a project and through our partner Nasri, we have, of course, collaborated quite a lot with different stakeholders, with ministries, with agencies, and the research performing organizations here in Albania. And one of the collaboration partners that we had a very long cooperation already in relation to the topic of smart specialization is our colleague Linda Pustina, who I would also like to warmly invite for a short welcome address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elke. So, dear colleagues, distinguished representative of the European Commission, of CCI, partners of Policy Answers, and friends and colleagues, it is a pleasure to welcome you all to Tirana for this important event on strengthening the participation of the Western Balkans in the European research area. This event highlights the value of the EU support instruments that make a real difference on the ground. Policy Answers, as a Horizon Europe funded policy project under the European Commission, and particularly DG Research and Innovation, has played exactly this role. Its focus on policy coordination, capacity building, and alignment with EU frameworks has proven highly relevant for our region. What makes this initiative particularly valuable is its flexibility and its ability to intervene at the right moment. As head of S3 team in Albania, closely involved in the process, I can say that this support came at a critical administrative phase during the implementation of the smart specialization strategy and preparation of the strategy, when other foreseen support mechanisms could not be activated due to unforeseen technical constraints. Though Policy Answers, in close cooperation with Nasri, we were able to organize 10 out of 32 events foreseen in our action plan as part of the entrepreneurial discovery process. This support was instrumental in maintaining momentum, ensuring stakeholders' engagement, and ultimately enabling us to deliver the required steps and finalize the S3 process with the planned timelines. This is where the real added value is. Policy Answers did not simply fund activities. It strengthened our ability to launch a structured and inclusive consultation process for the preparation and implementation of S3 by reinforcing governance mechanisms and enabling effective dialogue between institutions, academia, and industry. At the same time, its impact goes beyond Albania. Across the Western Balkans, it has created a shared space for exchange and coordination, helping align our approaches and bringing us closer to the European research area. Looking ahead, this experience clearly shows the importance of agile, policy-oriented support mechanisms that can respond to real needs at the right time. In this regard, we highly value the cooperation with ZCI and look forward to continuing this collaboration through policy enlarged as presented in today's agenda. Let me conclude by expressing our sincere appreciation to the European Commission, DG RTD, Policy Answers Consortium, and to all partners involved. Your contribution has been instrumental in strengthening a more effective and implementation-driven innovation ecosystem in Albania and across the region. And finally, I would like to express my personal thank you for my colleague Bernard. We had a great cooperation, and we will have a great cooperation Now he moved at GRC, and also to the other colleagues, Elke, Desiree, and also Nikki that worked at that time in DGRTD. So for us, DGRTD has been really a great help for supporting the S3 together with GRC. So many thanks for your contribution that has been essential for us in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for these kind words and for confirming that we had an agile contribution and we could unblock a situation. I would like to invite also from the Albanian ecosystem Deputy Minister Amela Baka from the Ministry for Education. So the floor is yours for a short welcome address as well. Thank you for coming.
Good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you in Tirana, and I would like to start by giving a thank you to the European Commission representatives, to the team of the Policy and Answers projects for providing to us a significant contribution for research and innovation in our country. Today's discussion, actually, it's important not only because it concludes a significant phase of regional cooperation, but because it addresses a strategic question for all of us. How and to what extent the Western Balkans can participate more seriously, more credibly, and more effectively in the European research area. This is also, I believe, the central focus of today's event, to reflect on lessons, identify pathways, and look ahead to the next phase of cooperation. For Albania, I'm pretty sure that this is not just a concluding event and not only a policy discussion. Research and innovation are directly linked to the quality of higher education system, to the competitiveness of our economy, to the capacity of our institutions, and to the credibility of our European path. If we want a stronger Albania within Europe, then we need a stronger national system for science, research, and innovation. The recent monitoring under Policy Answers project gives us a clear picture. Albania has made progress. We can see an upward trend, let's say, in data availability for European Innovation Scoreboard, a high and increasing share of open access publications, a growing number of joint Horizon Europe projects with EU member states, participation in European partnerships, and also an increased engagement in many other European projects. They show that Albania is increasingly present in European research and innovation processes, that our institutions are becoming more concerned to the wider European ecosystem. But progress, we have to highlight it, that there's a lot of work ahead. The same monitoring actually makes clear that the percentage of GDP dedicated to research and innovation still remains not in the, let's say, in the target that we already have. This remains one of the central structural issues for our system. So participation in European initiatives is important, but participation alone is not enough. Without stronger national foundations, without sustained reforms, and without a more coherent implementation framework, we will not achieve the level of transformation that Albania needs. This is why our work must remain focused on implementation. At national level, one of our priorities is to continue strengthening the legal and institutional framework for science and research. The law is important, but the real test, I would say, lies in the implementation of the bylaws and implementation of other national framework as well. In this effort, the role of NASTRI is particularly important. Its work is essential in linking Albania's national agenda with regional and European processes, and in helping shape a more structured and, I would like to say, an evidence-based approach to research and innovation policy. I would like also to underline the importance of research infrastructures. This is one of the areas where Albania, like the wider region, has still important work ahead. So the Policy Answers project will help a lot on promotion of research infrastructures and makes it clear that open access to research infrastructures is central to scientific excellence, innovation, and cross-border cooperation. Thank you once again for your support, commitment, and we are very much looking forward to the next steps. Thank you.
So much. Thank you so much for the words on the linkages between the policy and the implementation. We hope to have really contributed with implementation steps in Albania and in the region. And now we are moving with the welcome words a little bit from Albania towards Europe. And we do this by inviting a representative of the delegation of the European Union to Albania, Carlo Dukic, program officer at the EU delegation. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this event. I'll be very brief, and let me start with welcoming the significant progress made by Albania in Chapter 25. We are very encouraged to see that preparations for its provisional closure are well on track within the envisaged timeline, but at the same time we would like to recall that the provisional closure does not mark the end of the process. The EU acquis in research and innovation continues to evolve, and in that sense, it is important that sustained efforts are continued to ensure that Albania remains aligned. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the excellent work carried out in the Policy Answers initiative, in particular its contributions to strengthening the synergies with the accession process. We are pleased to see that the work will continue under the policy enlarge, and we are very much looking forward to see how the project will contribute to advancing research and innovation ecosystems across the region. Thank you so much once again, and looking forward to today's fruitful discussions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have welcome words from the European Commission, DG Research and Innovation, that was mentioned already a few times, and who also supported Policy Answers financially. Mina Stareva, Deputy Head of Unit at DG R&I for Europe and the Americas. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Thank you very much for this presentation. And first of all, thank you very much for the host to this conference in this beautiful Tirana, which I discovered for the first time. So it's a warm welcome. Today is an important day. Thank you very much for inviting me, actually. It's a day of celebration. In this important journey that we have, actually, we are launched together, and we are really, really closely linked and engaged together. It is important that we take a breath, that we take stock of the achievements, that we celebrate those achievements, that we look ahead, building on the lessons learned, sharing good practices, building on the success stories and the overall engagement that we all have today. I think it's the journey towards a stronger European research area, strengthen research and innovation ecosystems, and of course, being together, stronger integration of the Western Balkans into the era. So with this, of course, I would like to congratulate a lot Policy Answers for this support that has been provided throughout the years. 4 years, excellent results. We are going to listen more about this today. The Policy Answers has been instrumental in supporting the policy dialogue at regional level, in bringing ministers at the regional level and discussing important priorities in terms of alignment to research and innovation, sharing common priorities, but also building new and discussing challenges and building new priorities together. What has been also very much instrumental in the implementation of this project was the enthusiasm and the initiative to always come with new ideas, with new activities, inspirational, insightful activities such as the youth prizes, the innovation vouchers, the mobility schemes, and this is all something on which we can build for the future, and it's great to paving the way, actually, the way towards stronger collaboration in research and innovation. So I said it is really a great platform for policy dialogue. I have attended the last ministerial meeting together with the European Commissioner for Startups, Innovation and Research, Commissioner Zaharjeva, who is also, her heart is very closely linked to the Balkans, and she was so impressed by the work and the level of commitment from the ministers that she actually decided to host the next ministerial meeting in Brussels, in her, I would say hometown, but let's say professional hometown, and to celebrate the 20 years of steering platform on research and innovation. So this is it, here is where we stand. As we are looking ahead, because this is the objective of today, celebrating this we like, but also looking ahead, there are lots of challenges, but there are also lots of opportunities. Having said that, lots of opportunities for Europe, lots of opportunities for the Western Balkan, lots of opportunity for working and being together, and increasing actually a common journey from research to innovation, I would say. So the Commission has recently tabled, well, recently, several months ago already, tabled the proposal for the next framework program for research and innovation, which is even stronger, so stronger in terms of budget, stronger in terms of commitment, stronger in terms of linkages with competitiveness and innovation, and which provides a whole new scope of opportunities for the Western Balkan, knowing that the association to Horizon Europe will remain the same in terms of policy. So we do hope to see, of course, the Western Balkan countries represented as new member states or associated countries in the next framework program. So here is where I would like to stop. We do have an important morning ahead. It is a moment where actually some excellent work comes to an end. As I said, it's a moment to acknowledge it, but also it's a good momentum to look ahead and to be with this excitement and let's say positive vision ahead, because we know that there is a successor to the Policy Answer project which will be presented today. It's a Policy Enlarge project. So by thanking Policy Answers today, I would also like to wish a very impactful and successful collaboration on the Policy Enlarge in the next 3 years to come. So thank you very much again, and I wish us a very fruitful discussion today.
Thank you. So I hope, yes, wonderful. Thank you very much. These were the already quite a lot of content in our welcome words. So we're really looking forward to seeing some parts of the Western Balkans as new member states, as associated countries. I think these are all shared ambitions here in the room and with the audience online. We now continue with our first panel, and it's my pleasure to invite our colleague Sanja Popovic-Pantic from the Institute Mihailo Pupin. She is going to be the moderator and chair of the first panel, and she is also introducing her panelists. So I give the floor to Sanja, and she will continue on the regional success stories. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Elke. Dear guests, dear colleagues, dear participants, it is really my great pleasure to moderate this panel dedicated to one of the core pillars of our Policy Answers project, capacity building program across 6 economies in the Western Balkans. We bring together representatives of 6 partners organizations from Albania, from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Serbia, to reflect on the achievements, on lessons learned, and transformative effects this capacity building program had to our economies. These programs were not designed in isolation. Actually, these programs were co-created with national stakeholders based on dialogues with national stakeholders and aligned with the Western Balkan agenda for innovation, research, education, culture, youth, and sport. So, as it was mentioned a few times by our distinguished speakers at the opening, The approach to this capacity building program was adaptable, flexible, and we revised it after the first year of implementing this capacity building program in order to establish what worked well, what didn't work, and where the gap still exists. And we revised accordingly, and we also did the same exercise some 24 months after. And again, we revised and we adjusted it to the newly emerging needs, capacity building needs. So we are going to discuss about what have been done with my colleagues, and I'm now very pleased to invite first our host, Robert Dumi from Nasri. Please, Robert, come to the stage. Then I would like to invite Alma Bayramay, representing Reinvest from Kosovo. Then I would like to invite Maja Arslanagić-Kalajdzic from University of Sarajevo. Maja is representing actually both partners we had in the project, University of Banja Luka and University of Sarajevo. Then I would like to invite from Montenegro, Aleksandra Mugoša, who is not actually representing our partner, but stakeholder, and we are very privileged to have you today because we need also to have reflections from the stakeholder level. I'm also inviting my dear colleague Gabriela Kostovska-Bogojska from MIR, Foundation for Industrial Research. And certainly I will not invite myself, so I'm representing Serbia, Institute Mihailo Pupin. Okay, I suggest that we start with videos. We produced very nice videos on the achievements from our economies, so I think that the picture, in this case video, says more than 1,000 words, so let's start with Albania and video on Albania.
Policy Answers strengthened research and innovation policy capacity in Albania, focusing on inclusion, innovation, and stronger participation in European programs. Albania is working towards inclusive capacity building, stronger project skills, and better alignment between academia and industry. Policy Answers delivered broad capacity building. Across participating institutions, 10 gender equality plans were developed at universities and supported by dedicated training programs that help drive meaningful institutional change. At the same time, 30 capacity building events on Horizon Europe engaged nearly 500 participants, expanding knowledge of European funding opportunities and strengthening participation. In parallel, technical assistance was provided to 22 companies, improving access to EU funding and reinforcing project implementation skills. The impact extended across sectors and priorities. 2 training workshops on innovation in the blue economy were delivered, supporting sustainable growth and new opportunities. And a roadmap was developed to help Albania strengthen its performance, monitored in the European Innovation Scoreboard, reinforcing the country's research and innovation ecosystem. Albania now has a solid foundation for more inclusive innovation, strengthened participation in European programs, and long-term capacity, advancing progress and cooperation opportunities.
Congratulations, Robert. Now it's time to hear your reflections on how this project actually reshaped the landscape in research and innovation in Albania.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. Thank you once more, everybody. Good morning again. It's really a pleasure to be here and to share with you in a more personal way that this journey with Policy Answers has meant for us at National Agency for Scientific Research and Innovation, NASRI. When you look back at the past years, what stands out is not just what we have done, but how much we have learned about our system, about our challenges, about how much potential there actually is. One of the first things we realized was how important the capacity building really is. For example, when we started working on gender equality plans, only a couple of institutions in Albania had something in place. It was required for Horizon Europe and the European Commission, but for many universities it still felt quite abstract. So we didn't just organize trainings, we worked closely with them step by step. And today, all the public universities have their own gender equality plans in place. But for us, this was not just a technical result, it was a mindset shift. It showed that with the right support, institutions are willing and able to move forward. Another big part of our work has been supporting participation in Horizon Europe. We did organize many trainings, countless of trainings in info days and discussions, sometimes very structured, sometimes very practical. In total, we reached more than 500 participants. But honestly, the real impact goes beyond that number. Because what we saw was that people started to feel more confident. They started asking better questions. They started seeing themselves as part of European research space. And the change is just as important as any statistic. We also work closely with companies, and we still have a lot to improve on this field. Many businesses are interested in innovation, but they don't always know how to access European funding or how to position themselves in international projects. So we try to stay very practical, helping them find partners, guiding them through the applications, and supporting them in understanding programs like Eureka. It's a gradual process, but we are starting to see more engagement. At the same time, we are supporting broader approaches like the Smart Specialization Strategy, S3. Here the focus was really on bringing people together, academia, business, public institution, and helping them talk to each other in a more structured way. Because sometimes the biggest gap is not resources, but communication. We also explored new areas like blue economy. This was interesting because it showed how much untapped potential there is in sectors that are not traditionally seen as innovation-driven. Through a couple of workshops, we introduced ideas around innovation, management, and how these sectors can connect more with research and technology. Towards the end of this project, one of the most important pieces of work was European Innovation Scoreboard. It forced us to look clearly at where we stand, not in general terms, but at the level of indicators, data, and real performance. And it helped us identify where we can act in short terms and where deeper changes are needed. Another thing I would like to highlight is learning through exchange. Our experience with FFG in Austria, and so also hosting colleagues from Center for Innovation, Social Innovation, was extremely valuable. Because sometimes you understand your own system better when you see how others work. And of course, being part of regional initiatives like Western Balkan Mobility Scheme and innovation vouchers reminded us that we are not alone in this journey. We share many of the same challenges across the region, and also many of some opportunities. If I had to summarize this experience in one sentence, I would say this project helped us move from understanding the system to actually starting to shape it. But at the same time, we are very aware that that is just the beginning. We still need to involve the private sector to strengthen our institution and continue improving how we measure and support innovation. So for us, the final meeting is not really an ending. It's more a moment to reflect and to continue, hopefully in a more stronger and more coordinated way. And I think what we take with us from this project is not only knowledge or results, but a better sense of direction, a stronger network of people we can rely on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. We are going immediately to the next video on Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Policy Answers strengthened research and innovation policy capacity in Bosnia and Herzegovina, focusing on technology transfer, intellectual property, collaboration and commercialization. Bosnia and Herzegovina is accelerating the transformation of its research and innovation system, expanding its participation in European programs by building institutional capacity, strengthening coordination, and converting knowledge into sustainable structures. Policy Answers translated ambition into action. At the universities of Sarajevo and Banja Luka, researchers and staff engaged in hands-on training about proposal writing, partnership building, and 4 thematic workshops, and participation in Horizon Europe and other EU programs became a real practical opportunity. Also, at the Faculty of Philosophy in Banja Luka, a project management office was established, backed by online training modules and a study visit, creating a permanent structure to support future projects. Monitoring and evaluation practices have improved, and stronger bridges have been built between academia and industry, connecting research with real-world impact. The results were translated into the foundations for lasting change. 7 policy instruments now support government leadership in science and innovation. More than 40 participants came together to champion open science, while upgraded library services are expanding access, strengthening collaboration, and raising research standards. Bosnia and Herzegovina now has a solid foundation to empower institutions to sustain and advance research and innovation, driving progress for long-term growth.
Feel free to give applause, because it was really challenging to put the results of 2 partners in one video, so congratulations to Francesca, who is over there. Okay, Maja, could you please tell us what are the situation in Bosnia before and after, you know, this effect, before and after? It's so modern today on Instagram to put before and after effect.
Thank you, Sanja. So, as you have seen in the video, I would say that this capacity building program in Bosnia and Herzegovina did not only improve individual skills, but it actually contributed to a more systemic change in our innovation landscape and in our research innovation system. You have seen some evidence in the video, but I would say that we improved 3 areas in particular. First of all, we actually improved the ability of researchers, but also the institutions in Bosnia and Herzegovina to participate in Horizon Europe and other EU-funded programs. Before the programs, many researchers were interested. They were highly motivated to participate, but they didn't know how. They lacked skills, lacked institutional support as well, and also confidence, basically. They needed to engage in these complex processes of proposal writing and preparation. We delivered across our institutions hands-on mentoring, targeted training, and also learning by doing approach for our researchers. They were not only trained, I would say, but they were guided through this proposal preparation process. The result, so the after, we have seen basically an increase in participation and also in success. There were several success stories, including cases where institutions for the first time became coordinators in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And then, you know, this was a major step also for these institutions, but for the country as a whole. As a recent evidence, I say that I have seen 19 applications for 1 call within Horizon Europe from University of Sarajevo only. Imagine that. So 19 different applications came together, hopefully for some success. Second contribution, I would say, went more onto this professionalization of research management and administration in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Not only at our institutions of higher education and scientific institutions, but also within the policy institutions. So, as you know, we have a very complex structure coming from the national to the entity to the sub-entity levels, where different institutions have different obligations and roles. And they are actually lacking knowledge and support in programming. You know, they need to program and implement their own funding processes. So we developed hands-on experience for them. For example, we sent one large group of these stakeholders to Slovenia. And we show the ecosystem of the European Union country together with, which is relatively close to our Western Balkans countries, from the ministerial level to the level of these agencies and other support organizations. Also, in terms of implementation of the program, monitoring and evaluation of the program, we have actually provided support and guided these institutions. The third aspect, I would actually say, and I think this is maybe one of the most important aspects because it had a broader ecosystem and policy level impact, was actually strengthening this collaboration between researchers and policymakers. We have become sort of the advisors in the important questions, so not only politicians now are asked some questions, so we aim together to build a policy document, to participate in the working groups with the, for example, in terms of the new strategy for science or new innovation activity act at several levels. So this is very important for the complex system of Bosnia and Herzegovina. At the same time, we were specifically challenged with these new ongoing trends and activities related to knowledge and technology transfer, intellectual property rights, academia-industry collaboration, and open science. So all of these concepts were basically introduced in the system, and some policy documents are now left after. So if I speak about before and after, I believe that the difference is not only in the increased skills of our people, but in shift towards a more structured and more connected research innovation system, if we can still call it a system. I'm not fully sure, but yes, you know, the one that will be and is already better aligned with the European research area. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Kosovo was the economy with the largest number of capacity building activities and very ambitious program, policy oriented. So let us see video on Kosovo.
Policy Answers strengthened research and innovation policy capacity in Kosovo, focusing on increasing participation in Horizon Europe and supporting the implementation of the European Union agenda. Kosovo is strengthening its engagement in European programs. Digital, health, and green priorities are in focus, while aligning researcher institutions, organizations, and policies around a shared implementation framework. Policy Answers broadened its support beyond project design and delivery. Hands-on training strengthened the preparation and implementation of Horizon Europe proposals, engaging 50 researchers from 15 organizations and generating 10 proposal submissions. The Green Action Space at the Reinvest Institute became a hub for dialogue on the Western Balkans Green Agenda, reaching 200 participants through events, publications, videos, and a Green School program. Additionally, the strategic support also established a quadruple helix coordination forum, fostering collaboration across academia, industry, public administration, and civil society. The results took shape into concrete policy support. More than 10 reports and policy briefs fed directly into digital, health, and green policy initiatives, and around 400 participants took part, reinforcing evidence-based policymaking and collaboration across sectors. Kosovo now has a solid foundation for stronger coordination, higher quality projects, and sustained policy capacity, supporting Kosovo's future integration into European research and innovation frameworks.
So, Alma, how has this capacity building program actually influenced policy level in Kosovo and decision making?
Yeah, thank you, Sanja. So, in Kosovo, the capacity building program had concrete effects since it was targeted. It was designed around 9 actions that were responding to real bottlenecks in research and innovation system in Kosovo. For instance, first, it strengthened the capacities of researchers in universities and organizations. As we've seen in the video, from Action 1, around 50 researchers were trained in Horizon Europe training for preparation and project implementation. So the impact was not only immediate but also measurable. We have seen that right after the project, around 40% of those participants said that they have applied for a project. And from those submitted application, Horizon Europe was the most frequent application and cited program. So here we really see before and after. So before we have really limited project readiness, and after we see more application and real project pipelines. So also second, it's the program has influenced national policy processes. Under Action 2, Reinvest has supported the drafted process of the new national science program. This was done through 3 main outputs. The first one was a research report on state of play of the RNI ecosystem in Kosovo. Then it was a policy paper on financing and governance of R&I, and third, it was concrete inputs in the national science program. So these were not just technical documents, they were discussed with stakeholders, they were presented in major conferences, disseminated through media, short videos, and direct communications with relevant institutions and parliamentary actors. Third, the project has helped to bring priority themes into universities and policy agendas. Through the third action, Reinvest reviewed the curriculums of universities, and we assessed how these priorities align with green agenda and digital transformation. And then after discussions and presentations of reports, the faculties showed their readiness to accelerate these changes in curriculum. This may seem like a softer achievement, but in the long term, we see how it links the human capital with development with the Western Balkans agenda and the EU priorities overall. Then we have provided feedback to the energy strategy and in the law for renewables. So we also organized workshops with public officials and followed with policy briefs and reports. As for the digital agenda, Reinvest became part of the smart specialization strategy process and developed a concept note for the Strategic Advisory Council for the S3. On health, we have focused on 2 main points, which was the underfinancing of health in Kosovo and the lack of digitalizations. So this helped to bring awareness for the need for health financing and a reform and the digital systems that needs to be changed. Fifth, the program has improved stakeholder dialogue and cross-sector cooperation. Through Action 4, we try to connect the innovation ecosystem with the Ministry of Industry, Trade, Entrepreneurship, and also with the private sector. So we contributed to debates to the industrial strategy, the innovation ecosystem, and the draft law on innovation and entrepreneurship. Moreover, we participated in the task force related to the Innovation Fund, where we contributed with evidence and comparative solutions. Action 6 did not fully establish as a functioning quadruple helix because of the recent developments, political developments we have had in Kosovo, but it did develop the concept and the governance logic for a body that could play this role. So if I had to summarize, I would say that policy answered helped Kosovo move from fragmented and reactive efforts towards more structured, evidence-based and partnership-oriented approach to research, innovation and strategic reform.
Thank you, Alma. We are now moving to video on Montenegro.
Policy Answers strengthened research and innovation policy capacity in Montenegro, focusing on project readiness, sustainability, and impact. Montenegro is strengthening its participation in European research and innovation programs while advancing sustainability across key sectors and building the skills needed to design strong projects and deliver them effectively. Policy Answers delivered targeted and hands-on capacity building. In close cooperation with the Ministry of Education, Science and Innovation, researchers and institutions strengthened their ability to prepare competitive Horizon Europe proposals and manage projects effectively. At the same time, specialized training programs were deployed on circular economy principles, from environmental, social and governance compliance to public sector and civil society solutions, sustainable tourism, and circular agriculture. And innovation moved closer to the market. Targeted support for sustainable agriculture and the food value chain was combined with the Inno Bootcamp, a fast-track pre-acceleration program turning research into scalable market-ready solutions. Policy Answers moved beyond delivery to create continuity, ownership, and measurable progress across sectors. 2 Horizon Europe training were implemented and formally recognized by the Ministry of Education, Science and Innovation. Their relevance led the ministry to continue the program independently and retain the same experts, a clear evidence of sustainability. And the collaboration deepened through a formal cooperation agreement, followed by a more advanced training that led to at least 11 companies submitting Horizon Europe proposals. Montenegro now has a solid foundation for achieving long-term autonomy through stronger participation in European programs, sustainable sectoral development, and lasting capacity, fostering a sustainable research and innovation ecosystem.
So, Alexandra, the question for you is actually, could you please share with us the rationale behind integrating the program on writing and implementing Horizon Europe programs in your, in ministry's regular program?
Thank you, Sanja. And this was actually a great video. It's summarizing very nicely the efforts of, first of all, the Science and Technology Park and the contribution of the entire project, but also the ministry's side. First of all, I would like to say that the trainings that we are actually, the capacity building trainings that we are talking about right now have been implemented for the first time in 2023 from the Science and Technology Park. And at the beginning, I would like to share just one personal note. We who worked for the first time in our initial months of being NCPs for the Innovative Europe were just sent to that training that we didn't know much in advance about, and it lasted for 4 days, and 2 of these days were the weekend days, Saturday and Sunday. So one of my colleagues sent me the message on Saturday and asked me, "How are you? Poor you." And I told her I would never be anywhere in the world rather than here right now. So this is just an appraisal note to the great expert that we had on these trainings, Professor Goran Stojanovic from the Faculty of Technical Sciences in the University of Novi Sad. After that, we had also another expert, Maria Šola-Spasić from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, University of Belgrade. But so on one hand, the project, the Policy Answers project, and the institutions, the Science and Technology Park, and afterwards the ministry, that integrated the capacity building training into the regular program. But on the other hand, the experts who really brought an added value and are now have so many connections within our ecosystem and have made a great contribution and have brought a big value to our companies and to our researchers and innovators who were keen to boost their capabilities and competencies and skills, but also the confidence to apply for the Horizon Europe projects. So from the ministry's perspective, these trainings were they fulfilled a very concrete national need. We actually had this gap, and one gap related to the practical skills of our research and innovation community to participate successfully in Horizon Europe. This is one of our national priorities when it comes to scientific research and innovation. And also, this was addressed through this Action 1 and Action 2 that were implemented by the Science and Technology Park, and afterwards it was a little bit complemented with this advanced training that was organized according to the Memorandum of Understanding between the Science and Technology Park and the ministries. So it really brought our beneficiaries an opportunity to build a series of skills for participation in Horizon Europe projects. The trainings were highly practical. They were interesting. We all attended them. They were hands-on, and they were tailored to the Montenegrin ecosystem. And they were also, as I said, delivered by the experts with really strongly relevant Horizon Europe experience. So that is how ministry recognized their strategic importance, and first there was this advanced training that was organized in cooperation between the Policy Answers Project, actually the Science and Technology Park and the ministry, and from last year we have these trainings integrated in our general annual call that is aimed at assisting or fostering participation of the national beneficiaries in the Horizon Europe project. So this sustainability is actually one of the most important outcomes of the project. And on one hand, this is a policy level commitment clearly from the part of the ministry. On the other hand, it shows operational excellence and ecosystem proximity of the Science and Technology Park. For us, this institutional cooperation in building the capacities of the research and innovation community between the Ministry of Education, Science and Innovation and the innovation infrastructures and other participants in this system is very important. We are a small system. We are serving a rather small community. And this community, in this community we have small hubs of excellence. These small hubs of excellence are actually found at the university, specifically in the University of Montenegro and the University of Donja Gorica, and but there are of course many researchers or independent units, particular units at the university that need assistance. But most of all, our startups, our business sector, our small innovation companies needed this assistance, and the interest was great. Every time when there was a call from the Policy Answers Project or from the part of the ministry, the interest was great, so that we had to, every time there had to be a selection narrowing down the lists, because it wasn't possible to fit everybody who is interested in these trainings. So strategically, it sends a good message, and we are definitely continuing with this. We have launched the call for fostering participation in the Horizon Europe project, in the Horizon Europe program this year as well. This is part of the call, and along with some other measures. And we are closely monitoring the system. For us, it is very important to be close to the ecosystem, to listen to them, and we really appreciate the role that the Policy Answers Project had in this regard. So when it comes to sustainability, perhaps I will afterwards share a couple of more messages. But this is not to speak about the numbers, where we had we have a certain number of people who, after these mentoring sessions, after the training and after specific mentoring sessions, submitted their proposals that arose directly from the cooperation with the mentor. But there are many of those who, for whom these trainings were part of their path towards building their capacities for participating in the Horizon Europe program. And it is also, for me, very important to mention how important it was for a small system, for an emerging innovator such as Montenegro is, that last year we had this Videra 8 accelerator call for the widening countries specifically, that was actually very beneficial for the participants from the country like ours, because it's not only about the skills and the capacity, it's about the confidence, it's about overcoming the fear when entering such a big competition field, and also to have more confidence to fight, and also to enter the international consortia. So these are all the benefits of this action. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. So now we are moving to the video on North Macedonia.
Policy Answers strengthened research and innovation policy capacity in North Macedonia, focusing on agile coordination to drive innovation into action. North Macedonia is reinforcing its research and innovation ecosystem by aligning policy design, coordination, and implementation, tackling a complex challenge to accelerate the digital and green transitions across institutions, business, and research. Policy Answers supported capacity building across the full policy cycle. It strengthened policy design, coordination, monitoring, and evaluation through study visits and broad stakeholder dissemination. It also enhanced business capacities in digital skills and innovation through peer learning and best practice exchange on technology transfer and the twin transition through 2 conferences, the TwinTech Connect 2025 and the TwinTech Talk 2025, connecting national and international expertise. The impact extended across the innovation ecosystem. Through targeted capacity building on smart specialization, Innova helped policymakers, businesses, and researchers work together. They identified priorities and turned them into concrete actions under the current Smart Specialization Strategy Action Plan, engaging over 150 participants. North Macedonia now has a solid foundation for stronger research and innovation policies, sustained capacity, and effective implementation of the Smart Specialization Strategy, supporting economic and societal progress.
So, Gabriela, the same question as for the others. How does this capacity building program reshape the research and innovation landscape in North Macedonia?
Thank you, Sanja. Good afternoon to everyone. Well, we had a very great starting point for the capacity building program in Macedonia, because we were 2 partners, one coming from the public sector and one coming from the private research sector. So we already had a lot of different stakeholders together on the table. So that was the advantage that we used. And when we co-created this program together with the different stakeholders from the public of Helix, we were thinking how we should approach it. And we decided to go from where we had the strongest policy priorities, where we have strong policy priorities, so we don't have to convince that we need to do a lot of different changes there, and see what are the challenges, and then decide on the approach. So it was mission-oriented sort of capacity building program. Let's see where the alignment with the EU framework program is the most important, and where we can focus. And it was somehow at that point that it was the smart specialization strategy and all the strategic priorities around it, and the digital twin transition, innovation, research, and everything that goes around it. So that was our answer. That was the point where we started to work together and design this capacity building program. It has several pillars, 3 in fact. And we work with the public sector, with the private sector, and we had a 3rd horizontal pillar that I will come back to it a little bit later. So as you've seen, we worked with the policy framework, so we did this capacity building, we helped the action planning for the smart specialization strategy, but we also had a dedicated training on monitoring and evaluation. So now this group also has a dedicated framework, monitoring framework, that they can use for follow-up of this implementation. So it's already a great impact for this part of the implementation and monitoring and evaluation. So not only capacity building, but very, very hands-on capacity building with a tool that they can use. So this is immediately something that leads to a certain sustainability, but we will talk about it a little bit later. So that was very, very important for us. So not only capacity building through workshops, different types of events, but also collecting and creating resources. So these peer learning exchanges helped us to collect a lot of resources. Many of them you can find on the Western Balkans Info Hub. They're already there, so they can also be used by other countries, by other partners, but also we created some resources that are only for our own circumstances that can be used as a good practice, but they are tailor-made for Macedonia. So it can be used for the S3 processing in the country. What we were also thinking about, one very big elephant in the room, maybe in whole Europe, but I will say about Western Balkans, is the lack of skills for technology transfer. Because we all talk about money, funding, envelopes, but when we go to in the real world, we see that we lack skills. And both in all sectors, not only in academia, researchers, but also companies. Only if we think about two very simple types of technology transfer, horizontal and vertical, there are other types, but these are the basic ones, we have a lot of problems there. So that's why we decided to focus on technology transfer. We had a similar initiative a couple of years ago with the Ministry of Economy, and this was a very nice continuation. So that's why we started together with all the different stakeholders this technology transfer conference, this Twin Tech Connect. Last year it was focused on digital green transformation. We will see what will be the focus for the next year, because we already started together with Innova and other stakeholders to plan and to be a much bigger event, because we need to start this discussion and need to start improving both these skills for vertical and for horizontal, and for building this, let's say, job that is an innovation broker, technology transfer broker, and put this into the curricula as well. That was a very good example of what I think it was mentioned in Kosovo, what you did for the curriculum to better align. So this is also a good idea for us to think with the universities how we can improve that. So that was why we had these conferences, but not only because of that, we also wanted to increase the collaboration, because for us capacity building is not about training people only, it's also about increasing trust and cooperation between the stakeholders, and that's why we wanted to have this type of Twin Tech Connect, Twin Tech Talk, different types of awareness raising and connection activities. And we also wanted to work with our companies to prepare them for what comes next. And there is a lot of things going on with the digital innovation hubs. There is a lot of things going on with this greening business facility that will start very, very soon. So that's why we wanted to train them. So we had this digitalization and this greening business workshops, so they can apply and get the money and use the money so that they're ready for it. And we also had boot camps to have a very concrete project ideas. So when the call is open, they can apply. So I expect these results to be seen, I hope, very soon this year, so that next time when we talk about this, we can talk about this type of effects, not only about what we have done in policy framework and what we have done. Feedback. So for us, it's very important. What we discussed yesterday during the project meeting is that policy answers became a brand. So that our institutions, our companies, they already know, and Western Balkans Info Hub as well, because it goes together. You cannot separate those two things. We will continue that with the new project, but regardless of the project, also with this very good approach of mission-oriented capacity building, because it is already very much sustainable, but we will talk about it, I guess, just in a minute. Huh? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriela. Now we move to Serbia.
Policy Answers strengthened research and innovation policy capacity in Serbia, focusing on skills, evidence, and long-term impact. Serbia is facing rapid transformations driven by digital innovation and the green transition. The key challenge is not designing strategies, but building the capacity to implement, monitor, and improve them. Policy Answers delivered a targeted and practical capacity building program. Through training on digital transformation and the green transition, more than 250 participants strengthened their skills. At the same time, strong synergies were built. with business networks, chambers of commerce, and innovation hubs across Serbia, and with specialized training on monitoring and evaluation, evidence-based policymaking was further reinforced. The impact was measurable and lasting, leading to 3 remarkable achievements: more than 300 entrepreneurs, professionals and stakeholders trained, and an extended reach via the Western Balkans InfoHub YouTube channel and local TV networks. A stronger national ecosystem, connecting public institutions, business and innovation. Serbia now has a solid foundation for a more competitive SME sector, a greener and digitalized economy, and sustained capacity to develop a research and innovation ecosystem that drives long-term growth.
We have not forget that we actually implemented this project and capacity building activities under very serious conditions. It was a COVID time. Actually, it in a way helped successful implementation of a capacity building program in Serbia, because we launched this program at the exactly right time. We've been focused to digital transformation, and we all can remember that it was must just in that period of time. And within this project, we actually been the first in Serbia who organized the series of trainings on such a large scale, covering entire Serbia, whole of 5 major regions in Serbia, and this is why we actually raised great interest and have more than 250 SMEs participating in the training. It was really great success. And also about green transition, we raised great interest again, because at the moment when we started, it was a bit vague among business sector. But then some announcements from the officials that CBAM will be mandatory soon immediately raised the interest of SMEs. So we all know who are working with the business sector that they are not that much responsive and attending very seriously trainings. But from my point of view, it was really good thing and the right time, and this is why companies and the business sector really benefited a lot, and I think we had the biggest impact to them through our series of 12 trainings. This adaptability approach that we mentioned at the beginning of our capacity building program design also helped us to meet immediately the needs that were emerged. So we, for example, we first started with basics on digital transformation and green transition, and then we realized that we have some advanced participants who are searching for more advanced skills, and then we organized advanced level and adapted our strategy. Also, we adapted the initially planned activity on writing and implementation of Horizon Europe projects, like that was implemented in most of our other partners' economies, because somewhere in the middle of implementation, the ERA report indicated that Serbia performed very well in this respect, and this need actually was not anymore accurate. So we reshaped it and go with green transition advanced level series of workshops with very interactive methodology, again adjusted to the SMEs and their need to have something very tangible, very practical. Apart from that, we also organized a series of training for the representatives of mostly research and academia, but also public institutions representatives, and part of this innovation ecosystem related to innovative SMEs, startups and scale-ups mostly, because they are mostly applicants for Horizon Europe projects and other innovation funding. But this community is also emerging in Serbia, and there are many bodies and entities within research and innovation infrastructure that support them. And then we actually provided to them this training, and now I would say we have upskilled quadruple helix actually for the next level. And when we speak about SME sector, I believe next level would be training on AI and implementation of AI in business operations. One more advantage of our program is that we achieve synergy with other ongoing projects, like, for example, Enterprise Europe Network, which is very much focused to SMEs and enabling their access to finance, to international market, and of course skills. So this is also the added value. So I believe now we have to move to the second part of this panel, because when the lights on the stage turn off and switch off, then we can ask ourselves what is the next, what will happen when this project ends and the reporting is concluded. So we also have in our program this sustainability part, where our partners were very dedicated in answering this aspect. So let us hear about sustainability measures that you are going to implement and to keep this program sustainable. We will again start in alphabetical order. So Robert, the floor is yours. Something about sustainability of the activities.
Thank you for giving me the floor again. The agency has in its mind has been always in a, so to say, in a national campaign on promoting the European programs, mainly the Horizon Europe, but not letting the others, such COST, Eureka, and Euraccess, and so on. And within policy answers and without the policy answers, we have done the same old habits, and we'll continue to promote and to consult all the stakeholders in Albania in order to achieve their goals in research innovation area. We see with pleasure that there are some institutions, some higher education institutions, which are now, let's say, they don't need more any help, any support from us, and we are pleased to say that, and we are looking forward for many of these kind of institutions and organizations to be on stage. At the same time, we are always on ourselves, on capacity buildings, and enhancing our capacities in dealing with many different challenges all over all the days and in all the fields which we are covering. So yeah, that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So Maya.
Thank you very much. Well, I would say again that for Bosnia and Herzegovina, we had some 3 streams on sustainability. One being the integration of these practices we introduced into university and research institutions' regular activities. So we equipped support offices and support structures and enabled better preparation and better functioning in terms of the mainly application on EU funding. The other one being the integration and embeddedness in policy and governance processes. Why I say that? Because while advising different ministries, our team in Banja Luka and in Sarajevo kind of embedded also what we did within policy answers into the current documents and practices introduced at different levels. So this made a long-term foundation where we actually enabled our institutions to develop the research innovation system better. And I think that the third aspect of sustainability, I would call a culture change, a culture shift towards, better integration, better collaboration between academia, policy makers, companies, industry, while also promoting trends such as the open science, knowledge transfer, and collaboration. So this cannot happen overnight. And I think, I often say for the University of Sarajevo, we are now at ground zero, maybe +1, but shift is visible. And I would say, maybe after listening to all of you now, that this capacity building program for the whole Western Balkan countries was very interesting because it did not impose specific activities for each country. It started with the needs. So the specific needs of each country, and you can see that, we did different things, but in the essence, maybe, they were showing the shared need for capacity improvement, for connectivity, and for building a better trust in the system. And as Gabriela said, I believe that policy managed that it became a brand and also a trusted source of information, of further direction, especially through the Western Balkans Info Hub that reaches many stakeholders now. And I'm happy to see this involvement, not only with the Policy Answers project, but in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Alma?
Yeah. To ensure the long-term sustainability of the capacity program in Kosovo, we are focusing on several complementary strategies. First, we are working on embedding the institutional knowledge and the tools that derive from the project. For example, the experience gained through the Horizon Europe projects, we see researchers already supporting their colleagues in their universities, sharing materials, and sort of creating an internal culture that helps the project development. In parallel, the analytical reports and recommendations that came from the project are being linked to national frameworks and strategies. Beyond that, sustainability will depend also on a continued participation in EU programs and regional funding programs. For instance, the Western Balkans investment framework and EU economic investment plan, which we also held a workshop on. Successful participation in such strategic projects will for sure generate additional resources, experiences, partnership, which in turn will sustain capacity building effects over time. And third, we are focusing on maintaining a structured dialogue among stakeholders. I think the project set a very good groundwork for more cooperation, but maybe to say more regular cooperation between academia, private sector, government, and civil society. So overall, our approach is not to sustain individual project activities as isolated interventions, but rather to embed these capacities, the partnerships, policy tools into the institutional ecosystem, and so that they can continue to generate impact in the long term.
Thank you, Alma. Alexandra, okay, we heard that Ministry already integrated this training in your regular activities, which is really very impactful and great indicator. But yeah, I think that you had something to add.
Thank you. Really difficult to add something because I would agree to all the points that my colleagues emphasized. That these are all really crucial points for the future sustainability of the capacity building in this regard, and all the aspects that my colleagues already mentioned are very, very significant. Here, although I'm representing the ministry, I would not speak from the level of the policy making and from the strategical level, because we already integrated this, and I already spoke about the strategic orientation of fostering and continue to strongly foster the participation of Montenegrin beneficiaries in the Horizon Europe program. But I would like to emphasize two key points. One is the capacity building for the community, and of course our community in all its segments does not require equal level of commitment when it comes to their capacity building, and we already have many research teams and many big systems and big teams in the universities that are already independent, and they don't need our help anymore. And here we have the community of innovators, the business community that really needs a specific approach, and they also need, apart from this building of capacities, they also need encouragement. And on the other hand, what is very important for the sustainability is this institutional sustainability and this institutional memory, the knowledge and skills that we as practitioners who are helping the community to work their way towards the Horizon Europe projects, what we have learned, and how can we manage to help them, and how can we manage to help them build consortia, understand the evaluation criteria, dare to, because sometimes it is an issue to persuade somebody to dare to apply. So this is important for us, for the NCP network, and the NCP network is only partly in the ministry and partly in the institutions of the ecosystem, and we are also very thankful that part of the NCP network is across the university units, and these people are working on a voluntary basis on this. So we see a particular added value in building the skills, the capacities, and providing resources to these people who are helping the community, and we think that this is a great ground of sustainability to have these people know more, so that they can help more and better to the system. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriela.
Well, I would say that we have different levels of readiness when it comes to sustainability. Sorry. Institutional integration, of course, is very important, and it's easier when you are you connect your capacity building programs with a very specific public policy process like the smart specialization, because already what is designed as an outcome, as a resource, you can use it in the process, and it is already there. And I'm sure that together with Innova, we will ensure that this is going to be used because it's needed, and it's there, and it should be used. It's different when we talk about other topics like technology transfer, for instance, because the readiness level there is it's a bit lower. But we wanted to start the discussion there. And we were already having some coordination meetings with Innova as well, but also with other stakeholders. So there we will be working a little bit more on institutional integration. But it's a good starting point that we already have a policy brief, the conclusion from these different conferences that we organize. So we have a starting point for advocacy and lobbying. So I think that maybe it's not the same in all economies, but from what I've heard, we have a different levels of institutional integration. Somewhere we are doing better, somewhere we still need a lot of things to be done. For the financial sustainability here, I think same. For some parts, we are in a better position because, for instance, we will have this big project in Macedonia, greening business facility for the companies, so that they can invest in industrial innovation, green technologies, and circular economy solutions. So our program for capacity building there is very well suited, and we will continue to support them so that we have very, very successful application process. But once again, if we talk about some other aspects like digitalization, we still need to think about how we can cooperate. So we are working with the digital innovation hubs, we are working with Enterprise Europe Network, so to make sure that this continues. I'm talking now beyond policy and large. I'm talking about beyond what happens if we don't have a continuation project. So there are opportunities even if that doesn't happen. All the policy and large, of course, will help a lot. And then, of course, it's the third aspect, so institutional integration, financial sustainability, and knowledge transfer. I think that the knowledge transfer is also very important. And this connection that, as Maya mentioned, this trust building, so the real transformation will happen once the whole ecosystem works better. So that's the idea, and I think that the most of our future efforts will need to be oriented there, because what we've done, I think that more or less we're in a good pathway to keep it either financially or institutionally safe, but for the knowledge transfer part and for building the trust and the ecosystem, this is a never-ending story, so we will need to focus a little bit more on that in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. So you have heard from all the panelists that sustainability will rely actually on blended models, so combination of ongoing projects, some own resources, and in the case of Serbia, we will also rely on ongoing project, specifically Enterprise Europe Network. Unfortunately, we will not be a part of this and continuation of Policy Answers project, but we will give our best to integrate this great agenda and program, capacity building program in other projects. I believe that we now come to the concluding remarks. And I also believe that you, as our audience, have now the clear picture that what we have seen today is not simply a series of training events, but that we have seen today transformation. We have also heard that Policy Answers became a brand. And good news is that it will have its continuation and policy answer transitions into the policy in large. So these activities will continue. And by the end, something on a more personal note, I would like to thank all the colleagues. Some are sitting here, some are in the audience, like Muhammad from Kosovo. I would like to thank very much all of you for your dedicated work, contributions, in-time responsiveness to all requests. As a working package leader, I was privileged to work with you. And not forget the colleague from Montenegro, Milica Božović, who is at maternity leave. And also, I'm sure you will allow me to say something also, that we have one added value of our project, because without human resources, we can't move forward. And this project also gives some contribution to this respect. We had one baby delivered by Maya during the project, lifetime of project. And hopefully we will have another baby in Montenegro. That's by my knowledge. So thank you very much, all of you, and I really wish you great success in Policy in Large.
Thank you, Sanya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thanks also from my side, Sanya, Gabriela, Alexandra, Alma, Maya, and Robert, and all the others that are behind at the teams locally, and the families that supported you and allowed you with these contributions. We now have a second panel that I would like to invite you. So we are changing a little bit the scenery here, and I might already invite my colleagues Andriana Tasevska from Innova, the Macedonian funding agency. I invite Janine Halda from the... Sorry, may I ask for Janine Halda, Austrian Research Promotion Agency, and Ulrike Kunze from the German Project Management Agency of the DLR, and Desiree Pecart, my colleague from the Center for Social Innovation. They will introduce some results and further insights, and maybe to mention also that in the meantime, so thank you. You have heard already a lot about achievements locally in the Western Balkans, but our projects overall had a regional focus. So in this second panel, if I may ask for your attention, thank you. We are now focusing on the regional activities that we had. First of all, we had several pilot schemes. So our first speaker and colleague Andriana, she will tell us more about two of those pilot schemes. She will tell us about the Western Balkans innovation vouchers. This initiative was led by Innova, respectively its predecessor organization, the Fund for Innovation and Technology Development, and Andriana leads both the work package on the pilot activities overall, as well as the specific task on promoting academia-industry relations. So what happened in this pilot, Andriana?
Well, at first I would like to say probably most of you have heard about innovation vouchers since 20 years ago. Yeah, it's not something new. Should I maybe? Oh? Okay, sorry. And it's been around, and we know that the Commission in 2009 has identified almost 25 schemes like this, and it has been proven. So I would like to say, yeah, thank you. I would like to say we call it a pilot, probably, for the Western Balkans, but also in the Western Balkans we had initiatives like innovation vouchers previously. So in the report of D 5.1, this has been established, and we did improve probably some of the processes, but we went forward with a bit of a familiar scheme that it was. The goal was this time very precise, to cross-border match. So what we want to introduce to our SMEs is for them to really feel the support for what they already know, that innovation does not recognize borders. But with this, the major requirement was for them, from SMEs from one economy, to match up with the academia or research center from another economy. And this we have achieved 100%, definitely. And why I would like to say we had an excellence and success. Well, we went beyond a task. We built a sustainable network because some of those SMEs, they did this for first time. So they understood this was the opportunity to really search for, let's say, scientific excellence outside of the country. And by that, we've managed to have amazingly 13 new products market ready. Then when we did, when I was doing the analysis for the report and the policy brief, also we came across a great indicator that we achieved across the board of the 15 vouchers, level 2 up from their technology readiness. So fits perfectly with what we were saying in the previous panel. And then most of all, we went those beyond 8,000 euros what they got. It wasn't just funding task. 1/3 of the vouchers users and academia were very happy to tell us that they will sustain this relationship and they will continue working together with those partners. So really we created this tangible income that I would like to say. So yeah,
indeed,
sorry?
I wanted to ask you because you are also introducing a second pilot initiative. Correct?
Yes.
So we also had one that was supporting young researchers. So please, I'd invite you also to talk about that second one.
Yeah, so as a project work package leader, I had the pleasure working with the DLR. Our dear colleague Ralph sends his regards today to all of you. He's not able, a little bit sick, all good. So I feel honored, and also I always try to get these hands-on, let's say, experiences. So I would like to convey what they really have achieved. First of all, you can see the objectives that we have. I don't want to repeat myself, they are quite clear. And we did manage to finance, to give them 5,000 euros each to 23 early careers. We had the high quality of 31 applications. The demand was the supply, let's say, for us. Really, it was good. We didn't have any trouble with that. We've ensured great transparency and showed great trust throughout the process. For example, the major point with the Western Balkan mobility scheme, and when we, sorry, I have to take my jacket off. So when they were building, because I came a bit later in the project, when they were building the actual concept, the evaluation of it was like the essence of it. Why we wanted to ensure evaluation process that is very methodological, let's say, because we wanted to provide like a building structure for a permanent program. Whether that's going to be on an economy level or regional, this scheme, like the Western Balkan Innovation Vouchers, they have been proven, and this is a message from me, sorry, I generally want to be very direct. Both schemes like this, they have been around for a very long time. So let's institutionalize them already. They are not in a testing period anymore. They have been proven as effective, high efficiency. They are light touch, both of them, and they work like a light touch because they are complementary to other, let's say for the Western Balkan mobility schemes, they were complementary to other Horizon Europe or cost initiatives, and they are really trying to, how can I say, continuously give life to this regional mobility, both of the schemes. What else I would like to point out? We had a great communication with host institutions as well for the mobility scheme. And then probably, sorry, it would be it, I would think so. No, yeah, so what do we mean by excellent exploitation of the project results? 20 of the articles have been in a conference proceedings, 15 papers have been peer-reviewed, and 7 of those amazingly are already published in a scientific journal. So in a very short span, what was proven as a very restrictive for them, they had to finish the projects just in 6 months, and our recommendation is to give them 12 months, for example, if this is going to happen again or it's institutionalized. And then what else? I mean, what we can do is in these reports, what we have prepared, and in the policy brief, this is what we are recommending to you. Please let's make a database for research infrastructures facilities across the region, and this will help our early career researchers. Their main comments were this: I love that I had time to dedicate to my research only, which I think it really goes to the core, and then that they've been motivated to pursue their careers in their own economies. What I really loved the most is that one of the participants said, this stream helped me to overcome two major challenges for me as an early career scholar in the Western Balkan: the fragmented networking infrastructure and the relatively high open access article processing charges. So I think, yeah, I don't want to, take any further time, but I've tried to. Yeah,
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I think you summarized very.
Yeah, probably I would just like to end with the impact on both initiatives, that we did transform the landscapes, and with the mobility stream, we can really say that we turned brain drain into the brain circulation within the region. Thank you.
Thank you. And the regional impact was certainly there. Overall, we had, as we mentioned, 5 pilot activities, and while we do not have time to present those in detail, I still wanted to mention them, because I think also our Western Balkans Youth R&I Award was a very valuable exercise, resulting in 6 prize winners for their initiatives to bring youth closer to research and innovation. We supported also research and innovation, or research infrastructure ambassadors, that was resulting in a policy report on research infrastructures full with good practices and recommendations. And we evaluated learning resources on innovation management and presented it on the project website as a Western Balkans Research and Innovation Academy for further references. And for these further references, maybe I also want to mention here that when we are mentioning these policy reports that are as an outcome, they are lined out for the audience here in Tirana on the desk over there. So please feel free to take some of our policy briefs, and they are all available on our website. And now I would like to switch to the activities related to the alignment of priorities. So we discovered, obviously, that working on research and innovation in the European research area can go only so far if it's not focused on priorities, and we put digital transformation, green transition, and healthy societies in the focus. Sanja Damjanovic and Janine Halder led these tasks, and Janine is here today to introduce the activities and highlights. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Elke, for the introduction. So as Elke mentioned already, we were focusing in this work package on the 3 thematic areas. Primarily, we wanted to strengthen the policy dialogue by involving a very diverse stakeholder group, and we wanted to introduce the most important EU policy instruments as European partnerships, EU missions, and smart specialization as an example. So how did we practically engage with the ecosystem in the Western Balkans? So we organized online webinars where we had speakers from local level, from international institutes reaching to ministries and national funding agencies, from Turkey, from Malta, from Moldova, reaching out to new initiatives up to the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. So what did we learn from the dialogues that we were doing with the ecosystem? We learned that there's generally a very high interest of the Western Balkans to learn about the opportunities. And we learned also that experts on national and local level are very interested on the other side to engage with the ecosystem. Every expert, every program we approached to participate in such a webinar said yes. The most popular topics where we had most participants were the topics on technology and research infrastructures, as well as smart specialization. the probably most lively and engaged discussions we had on the best practice examples from national ministries from Turkey, Malta, Moldova, just showing their example, how they built up their national capacities and how these capacities were built up. So I said I will talk about the success and the opportunities in Horizon Europe for the Western Balkans. So we were focusing on the EU missions, where we looked at in the calls between 2023 to 2025, there were 85 projects where the Western Balkans were involved that were successful. The very successful thematic areas are the ocean and soil topics. We saw also that in 2025 there were in total 30 new institutions that did not yet participate in 2023 and 2024. So there are new partners, new institutions getting involved. There's also an opportunity, as for example the mission focusing on health and on cancer has an improvement. There could be more successful proposals in the sector for health. If we look at the EU partnerships, there are 7 now, actually I have to update, it's 8, under the Horizon Europe. So 7 sounds like a very low number of partners in EU partnerships, but you have to see that being a partner in an EU partnership, which is usually a ministry or a national funding agency, is also a commitment. It's a commitment to participate in meetings, evaluating national proposals, taking part in the development of national call topics. So an opportunity is to see this task also as a chance for the ministry or the national funding agency to engage with up to 40, 50 different ministries from Europe or even outside of Europe from overseas. It's also an opportunity to get local stakeholders from the national ecosystem into the Horizon Europe, since the partnerships usually have higher success rates than the EU Horizon calls. Again, there was a most success in the fields of environment, food, agriculture, and fishery. So again, there are opportunities, for example, digital industry and space or health-related partnerships. In the Horizon Europe, there are about 620 projects that were successful involving the Western Balkans. Again, the topics of environment and climate are the leading successful topics. While Serbia is being like the most successful from the Western Balkans, there are opportunities to learn from each other. As for example, Albania had the highest success between the Western Balkans in health, and North Macedonia and Bosnia-Herzegovina were the most successful in between the Western Balkans in Cluster 4 for digital industry and space, or also the Cluster 2 for culture, creativity, and inclusive societies. Also, the Kosovo had good results in the Cluster 2. So at last, I just would like to point out that we have policy briefs and policy reports that were developed by local experts involving also the local network, which contain recommendations how to take actions and to accelerate transitions in health, digital, and green. You can find these reports there and printed, and they're also available in digital. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So. Indeed, I think what Janine already showed, analysis and kind of like being evidence and data-based was also one of our priorities. That was an objective of us to monitor what is going on and the ecosystem, and we had a work package on this horizontal field, and my colleague Ulrike worked with regional experts, with our partner organizations, and with stakeholders, and she will briefly introduce as well the results of this work.
Thank you, Elke. Yes, as a work package leader of our work package on analytical activities, I was coordinating these activities in order to provide evidence-based or input for evidence-based policy making, in fact. So we did, okay. As you can see on this slide, we did 4 five different tasks of analysis. And all of them were related actually to the implementation of the Western Balkans agenda on innovation, research, education, culture, youth, and sports. So our activities consisted here in activities that were based on collecting data, analyzing them, examining them, evaluating, and then also interpreting. Sorry. We did some mapping activities, monitoring, also reporting. We did anticipating, foresight exercise, and also advising, finally, giving policy output. So these tasks were implemented also with strong support by experts and, of course, the input from all project partners and policy answers, and also with the support of the European Commission. So what we did in the mapping was that we collected information on stakeholders in the Western Balkans and beyond also. So this was data related to institutions, organizations, universities, authorities, ministries, and also on their programs, initiatives, and best practices. We also were looking for existing strategies, policies, and legal documents, and also finally on media outlets like platforms that distribute news to the public via channels such as television, radio, newspapers, and so on. So based on this information we collected, we created a database that is available, as you can see, on our website, on the Western Balkans Info Hub. It's a searchable database with more than 430 stakeholders, more than 200 programs and policies, and also more than 100 initiatives and best practices. So this ecosystem of engagement, as we call it, you can find it on our website, and I kindly invite you to go there and have a look and search for data that is interesting for you. Sorry, it's the wrong. Okay. The monitoring activities we did were aiming in order or to show the progress that is achieved in the implementation of the Western Balkans agenda. So here we have developed indicators in order to measure the progress done by the Western Balkans in showing the progress of the measures and the developments, and they were structured in 6 dimensions. The first one is research and innovation. Second one is digital competitiveness, but also we had indicators for environment, for youth, culture, and sport, for education and skills, and for the common regional market. We have produced 4 editions of these monitoring cards in the 4 years since 2023. And when you have all these editions, you can compare, in fact, the progress made in order to implement the Western Balkans agenda. We have published the edition for 26 recently, and you can also find these 6 monitoring cards of our last edition on the table here in the room. It's always the wrong, I put the wrong button. Oh, okay, sorry. We have also prepared reports on the integration of the Western Balkans into the European research area. Here, with the support of external experts from the region, we have collected and analyzed information on the research and innovation systems of the 6 Western Balkans economies. And this was in order to draw a picture of the progress in the region, also in view of the integration into the European research area. So we have prepared 2 sets of reports for the reporting years 23 and 24, and also some fact sheets related to these reports showing the information in a condensed manner. And so these were also coordinated closely with the stakeholders in the 6 Western Balkans economy, also with the ministries and also with the European Commission. And I think it's a good evidence also for informed policy making for the Western Balkans. We did also what we called foresight exercise. So this was anticipating the futures and discussing scenarios of possible futures for the R&I systems in the region in order to give policymakers a tool when they want to program measures and instruments for the future. So this is in order to anticipate what could happen in the region, in the R&I systems, to better anticipate the futures. We did a workshop, as you can see here, in 2023 in Podgorica with external experts, but also many stakeholders, and discussed these possible futures, and this activity is also currently being continued for the European Commission in order to guarantee sustainability of this activity. So as we wanted to capitalize on the results we have achieved in the whole project, and it was mentioned already before in other speeches, so we analyzed the outputs and summarized them, developed recommendations, and published policy briefs. So you can also find these policy briefs on the table in the room. So a couple of examples you have already heard. We did a policy brief on research infrastructures, but also on the challenges you have when monitoring and reporting regarding data and statistics, but also positions on the upcoming framework program FP10. Well, in conclusion, I would say that I think we have gathered a lot of information here, which is quite useful, hopefully, as source of information on many aspects of the R&I systems in the Western Balkans. So please have a look at the printed material, but also the material which is downloadable at the Western Balkans Info Hub, and well, hopefully, yeah, and we will continue parts of these activities also in the follow-up project policy enlarge, and we look forward to doing so.
Indeed, and we have embedded all those results in a policy dialogue structure of and events. This has been led by my colleague Desiree, and she's going to talk a little bit about the evolution of this policy dialogue. And
thank you very much. So what about policy dialogue progresses? So the cooperation in policy dialogue between the European Union and the West Balkans is based on a long-standing and well-established cooperation framework that started in Thessaloniki in 2003, when a declaration was adopted in which a first agenda for the Western Balkans was endorsed, in which also research and innovation were mentioned as key fields. Since in this context is then 3 different platforms have been created, and you see in this slide the dates, platforms covering the research and innovation, education and culture fields. What are the steering platforms for the Western Balkans? They are strategic bodies, so a way for the European Commission, the European member states and the Western Balkans to gather together, to have the possibility to exchange information, to discuss frankly on key themes, key priorities, with the final goal to support integration in EU programs and policy frameworks. When it comes to the evolution of the steering platforms as strategic bodies, but the progress and the progresses of the policy dialogue, so we can see different phases. So we have just mentioned that the first so-called foundations phase dealing with the creation of this institutional architecture, followed by a new momentum started, I would say, in 2021 with the adoption of the Western Balkan Agenda on Research, Innovation, Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, a very long name for a very strategic agenda, and the launch, of course, of the culture platform that has allowed to broaden even more the cooperation framework. Then we have a third phase called alignment, I would say, so alignment towards EU priorities, EU policies in order to foster an increased participation in EU programs like Horizon Europe, but also the development of smart specialization strategies and the recognition of the innovation ecosystem as a key driver for economic development and stability. From now on, there are discussions on how to evolve even more this policy dialogue, and the objective is to focus on key priorities from now on, since the world is changing, and on key legislative initiatives like the ERA Act implementation or Innovation Act. When it comes to the thematic scope of the policy dialogues, so we have seen policy alignment that has grown with, in line with EU policies, but we have seen also a better and a stronger cooperation at regional level in order to foster stability, mutual progress across the region. When it comes to innovation and competitiveness, the focus has also been more on innovation and competitiveness, as I've just mentioned. So innovation has been recognized as this driver to speed up a little bit economic development and social society as well. So the importance of research and the academia industry connections, innovation ecosystems, these have been on the agenda of the discussion. From now on, the discussion is now currently on the sustainability of the steering platforms as key strategic bodies, because the world is changing. So the objective is to focus on different thematics in different formats, maybe also in different geographical configurations. And the next 3 slides will show you just pictures of the last 3 ministerial meetings. We have supported in coordination with the European Commission, of course. So Tirana, maybe you might remember that the ministers covering research, innovation, education and culture have gathered in this city in 2022, where also the culture platform has been officially launched with Commissioner Ivanova at that time. In 2024, the same ministers have gathered in Skopje, and here we have seen 4 different round discussion tables and a clear shift towards a more practical implementation of the policy, a stronger alignment with EU policies as well. And more recently, in October last year, everybody was quite busy in Podgorica for the research and the innovation platform meeting, and there we have a clear shift towards building innovation-driven economies. So when preparing this presentation that is quite quick, and I have to be efficient and quick in explaining it, I was trying to provide some proof that the policy dialogue brings a key result, and it's not only a kind of abstract initiative. So trust me when saying that this policy dialogue has contributed to the increase of participation rate of the Western Balkans organizations in EU programs like Horizon Europe. It helped a lot to strengthen research networks at international level and regional as well. At the moment, all Western Balkan economies have already either implemented or are developing smart specialization strategies. Development of innovation ecosystem is also on its way. And when it comes to education and culture, we have increased networks, the possibility for mobility of researchers, academic staff, artists, and creation of cultural networks also for the protection of cultural heritage. So from now on, looking ahead, the objective is to keep the momentum alive, let's say. So there are discussions, as mentioned, about the opportunities for future formats of steering platforms and to make the steering platform meetings, which takes place at different levels, technical but also ministerial, as you have seen, more interactive, more topics oriented, with more integration from the EU member states, and also bilateral meetings with the European Commissioner, of course, in order to allow frank discussions. Regarding priorities, of course, new priorities are emerging because the challenging situation we are all living in, and these thematics have also to come in on the discussion table in order to allow in the end what is the real purpose, which is the full integration of Western Balkans into the European research area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think it's my duty now to move a little bit on the agenda, because otherwise we should be meeting, we should have a coffee break of only 7 minutes, so I would extend it by at least 5 more. I would like to call you back at 11:50. We will start with our keynote interview with the colleagues from the European Commission at 11:50. Thank you. Policy answers. Team members, please meet for a family photo. Okay, so we are slowly coming back in the room. While the colleagues are arriving from the coffee break, let me welcome again the online participants. I think we are still live, so let's come back with the next session. We're talking about the policy impacts of our activities and also the broader initiatives, and reflect a bit on the past and see what are the perspectives of the future for this continued cooperation with the colleagues from the European Commission. And after showcasing our results, we want to take a bit of this broader perspective with our colleagues from the European Commission. They were involved in this cooperation and they are driving this cooperation from Brussels when it comes to Horizon Europe Association or European Research Area integration. We have on the panel Mina Stareva, as she already gave the welcoming words. You know her already, Deputy Head of Unit International Cooperation for Europe and the Americas in DG Research and Innovation. Before the position that she is holding now, she was driving ERA policies and ERA progress reports, and she held leadership positions in the unit Fair Societies and Cultural Heritage, as well as in the gender sector in the European Commission. And secondly, we have Bernhard Fabianek, who is a senior expert at the Joint Research Center since 1st of March this year. But he was, so far, a key representative in the collaboration with the Western Balkans in DG Research and Innovation, so in his job before the JRC. And before this career move, he was officially the policy officer overseeing also policy and answers. So he was not only a policy officer, but also a project officer, in fact. So he knows the project, also the stakeholders, landscape, our positions and strategies for the bilateral and bi-regional cooperation between EU member states and Western Balkans very, very well. So, and before that, he was developing strategies on research infrastructures, and he did that and continued also this perspective in the Western Balkans cooperation. And I would like to actually start with Bernhard as well. And as a first question, I wanted to ask you on that you're reflecting of what we have presented. You have been nodding kindly, and you know the project. And just as a first question, what stood out for you when you're reflecting and thinking about policy answers?
Thank you, Elke, and good morning. Thank you for having me. Still, you didn't present everything of me, because actually when Desiree was having her slide with the history and so on, in 2003, 2006 Thessaloniki, I wasn't there, but I was still already dealing then with the Western Balkans in what is DG Connect, Information Society, Broadband for the Balkans. So actually your question that you're asking is more about what do I think about the 25 or 30 years with the Western Balkans. And actually sitting and nodding there, yes, and smiling now at the friends, the interesting bit, sort of the first session we had this morning, I was thinking, sort of fantastic what we hear there from the people. And I think 10 years ago, it would have not been possible to hear these messages. Where I said, we have done this, we have done that, we have collaborated, we have reached out, we worked with each other. Sort of that, I'm sort of even reflecting to Tanja Friedrichs, who was my predecessor some 10 years ago. There, the focus was more on sort of policy development, having sort of research policies from education policies coming, and eventually, yes, we had COVID, and again, on Desiree's slides, we had heard the Western Balkans agenda of many things that then moved more into the innovation area. But just thinking back what policy answers, and maybe also the predecessor has achieved, was unthinkable then. Sort of really when, okay, we have also heard now from the friends, the innovation voucher, the mobility schemes, the monitoring and support for smart specialization that has been provided. But policy answers became the glue that sort of, or the oil, if you want, in the machinery that made things happen, which were, I wouldn't say unimaginable, well, probably we were dreaming about this, but that we would get there, and also sort of the impact you generated, and something that again was not mentioned so far this morning, and I was a little bit disappointed, closings of chapter 25, EU accession. This is now on the table. We are discussing 2028 or by 2030, sort of President von der Leyen saying, yeah, Western Balkans enlargement is just happening. So something that, again, 10 years ago, we would have maybe dreamt about, and you sort of made it really happen. And also sort of policy answers, I wouldn't say with a lightness, but sort of it is perceived as easy. Sort of people do not recognize, or do not see probably, how much work is there behind. So that all the colleagues that we have been sitting here on the stage could report on what they have done. And I think our role was just to let you do and make life for you easy. So thanks a lot. And then the sustainability that we have heard. So it's clear when Bela and policy and large coming, sort of the path continues. So perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I asked the first question probably a little bit as fishing for compliments, because I think I knew you had a positive general experience on our cooperation. But I think it's very good that you highlight also the that we were perceived easy. So that's a good thing. And that you let us work, I can confirm this. Thank you. Reflecting now a little bit broader, so just beyond the project, and you have had this engagement with the region, what would be your key insights or key moments of your work in the region, connected to the project or not, no compliments needed? Maybe you can share with us a few more thoughts.
Thank you again from what we have heard earlier. I was a bit shocked to sort of hear that there was a fear of reaching out to Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020. Sort of people were afraid of submitting proposals because this is European framework program and that is all complicated and success rates are so low. And then we have heard Janine was saying, well, 600 proposals, and yeah, I was talking about that person. No, but it just shows the difference that has happened since then. Sort of the integration into the framework program, I would say, done. You're there, the figures are going up. Of course, it can always be better, we know that. But everyone knows in, let's say, the EU-27 that there are partners in the Western Balkans, and it was also good to hear from, I think Maya was this morning, saying that yeah, we are coordinators. University of Sarajevo, we're just doing, and we're getting good money from Brussels. So that helps us as universities getting better and integrate. And that was mentioned by Linda, actually, saying that the integration in the European research area, sort of, again, policy context, something normal. And as I was saying, negotiating for Chapter 25, EU accession, science and research, which sort of area is part of, yeah, that is just sort of understood by all the policymakers. And again, 10 years ago, people would say, wow, that is something very remote, it's not for us, maybe later on. Then much practical as well. Adrian, the Adriatic Union macro-region cooperation supported by DG Regio. Well, they are not here, so I can say nice things about them. But they helped doing a joint master's program on blue economy. So we brought different players to the table, not confined to research, which again nicely expanded into innovation ecosystems. We see now innovation funds all over the Balkans. Again, 10 years ago, this wouldn't be there. Now we are discussing sort of, again, in the previous session, moving from sort of skills development. We have the green and digital transitions, but we need people. So the ministries reaching out beyond their normal boundaries, and I have to go early this afternoon to the Ministry of Economy and Innovation. So not education only anymore. So this, I think, is also something where policy answers sort of have helped and grow beyond. Still, let me be critical, because I'm always. On the side of research infrastructures, because you mentioned it, we had great hopes, and we still have great hopes, of course, but these have not materialized as much as we wanted. Now, still, for Alexandra, and I have to give you credit, of course, we have the science and technology packs, and they're coming all over the place. So these local infrastructures we have managed to, or you have managed to put in place. But regional flagships that sort of counteract the brain drain, that sort of inspire the youth to stay in the region, and also, as we have heard, to help lifelong learning and sort of changing the whole economy, or bring skilled labor to new digital workflows and so on. This we still need to work on, and I'm pointing at Bela, so there's plenty of work ahead, of course. But sort of there, I think we still need to see, and also, which sort of probably Minna will expand a little bit further on, sort of I'm always pointing at you, saying you should do, and we try to help. But there's also, and it was mentioned in the morning as well, the member states, the EU member states, sort of how can they help, how they can sort of share best practice or through collaboration. We see it already in government tenders, solar power, sort of huge installations where sort of member states are winning tenders. My member states are companies from member states winning tenders here. So can we go beyond? Can we help this kind of cross-fertilization and sort of, again, in this integration into European research area, that we learn from each other and, yes, welcome these partners into then the European Union eventually.
Would you like to add a few more key achievements that you see or recommendations for the colleagues from the Western Balkans or in our audience online?
I think Bela would say it's difficult to predict the future, of course, as a scientist. But still a recommendation, stay with evidence-based policy making, sort of stay with the facts. I mean, it's good to dream and have aspirations, no questions, but make sure that sort of policy making is really linked to sort of what you can measure and then take the decision based on that. I mean, green digital, I mentioned already, this is still around us, and I was just joking about the ministerial in October, so maybe we are discussing about energy supply then and energy security, sort of some kind of outside impact on the cooperation that is always sort of unknown. But also, sort of, we have innovation now, we have the science and technology parks, the innovation funds, and then linking this into jobs and growth, sort of the ultimate impact, if you want, and then, as I said, counteracting the brain drain, academia, business cooperation to address the challenges, and that could be smart grids and this thing. Again, a critical comment, if you want. I mean, there's a European research area, there's the EU accession process, and there is something that's called the Lisbon target, and it says 3% of the GDP to be spent on research and innovation. And we all know that this 3% is a very high figure that might be quite far away. So from that point of view, but we have seen in the past Western Balkan ministerial, the commitment of the ministers saying, yes, we are striving for that, and that's part of our path towards European integration. So that really should sort of help, and with these resources being put into the sector, then of course things like research infrastructure and sort of retaining the youth should come naturally.
And I think we thought that Bernhard reflects a little bit on the past, and now he has led us into the future with his recommendations. And I want to look into this future with Minna. Because you joined this unit rather new, as you said, but you did already participate in this ministerial meeting in Podgorica last year, Commissioner Zaharieva, you mentioned it in your opening speech. Could you let us know a little bit the action points that the Commissioner or your department and you are working on at the moment and in this near future?
Thank you very much. It's difficult to speak after Bernard. I don't have his enthusiasm and knowledge, but he already mentioned quite a lot. But so let me tell you that we have been extremely busy after the ministerial meeting in Podgorica, because it has been an insightful and motivational meeting for us. I mean, for me it was the first one, which provided the opportunity to meet many of you and to get familiar with this project and excellent results. But it is also the general message that I would like to give you is that we have been all ears since then, and then we are really listening to you, and we are really listening to the region, and we have actually come up with some concrete ideas to follow up from this meeting. Of course, this was based not only on the discussions during the ministerial roundtables on research infrastructures and artificial intelligence, because easy there we already had just recent soft communications adopted in the fields of AI in science, but also research and technology infrastructures. But there were also some very interesting side events, such as the Regional Cooperation Council presentation of the report on the ecosystem, startup ecosystem in the Balkans. So these, the price of the innovation vouchers, these are things that resonated in our ears, and also especially in the mind of Commissioner Zaharjeva, who is the commissioner for the first time of research innovation startups. So basically we try to look into possibilities of how best to support the innovation ecosystem in the region through, of course, Horizon Europe, which is our main instrument, but of course through other targeted funding and support possibilities to build also capacity and engage with the innovation ecosystem in the region. So these are some concrete steps. Having said that, of course, we are here in the context of the European Research Area. So very important in our mind and in our work is the focus on the European Research Area and upcoming European Research Area Act, where, of course, the objective of this is relevant for all of us. It's really promoting the fifth freedom. It's really making sure that research careers are attractive, that a science career and innovation careers are attractive also for young people, that barriers are removed, but that we also make sure that we work with national administrations who increase and support their commitment to increased investment in research and innovation. So we deal with topics that we heard this morning also, like gender equality, open science, knowledge valorization, knowledge transfer. So these are all areas of interest for the Western Balkan region, and of course it's part of the EU acquis. So a lot of work together has been done, also in the context of joint committee meetings, bilateral. And something else that is very much on our radar screen, on our common radar screen, is the Commission proposal for the next framework program. There we can speak for hours, but actually member states and the parliament may speak for years. So in a way, there is a lot still to discuss on the ambitious proposal, but one thing that is very important for our discussion is the association policy to Horizon Europe. And this has provided actually a very good opportunity for us to start discussing with member states and with associated countries the benefits and the impact of association. What does it mean internally? What does it mean in terms of participation in Horizon Europe? What does it mean in terms of strengthened national systems, but also in terms of intra-country cooperation, which actually, and how does this increase? We recently had a debate during the Competitiveness Council by member states on association and international policy looking ahead. So this is something that is very much, of course, interesting for this region. And last but not least, during this Competitiveness Council on the 27th of February, we have also tabled the so-called open and secure international package, where we actually include a new document. It's a proposal for a council recommendation on an EU framework for science diplomacy. Science diplomacy is a very comprehensive soft power tool, which is of course very much relevant in this context, and we know that there are some important cost actions also on science diplomacy. So maybe I stop here.
Yes, maybe I pick it up from there, because I think that projects like Policy Answers and the Future One Policy Enlarge are also very much instruments of a science diplomacy, and also even bilateral science diplomacy. We saw a lot happening. This is scientists working with each other and facilitating a bilateral policy dialogue. So as we are concluding and the new project is starting, the handover is currently going on. What are your expectations for the cooperation in this frame in the future?
Bella, shall I look at you? Well, I think that one thing should be clear actually, that success and success stories, they come with lots of responsibilities. So I think that you have a very, let's say, well-defined journey ahead, but this would require lots of coordination and discussions and cooperation within the region, but also, you have also the difficult and interesting task to enlarge, to open up the consortium also to the other enlargement countries, where one could learn a lot. And we are very much looking forward to this. I would not actually, I know that you have a presentation that comes after this intervention, but I think that one of the success ingredients that we heard this morning are, of course, the passion. You all spoke with lots of passion and commitment. The continuity, the sustainability, and also all these activities that so many activities were done, but we are all clear that this change will not happen overnight or over a year, over a project life cycle. So this is something that we are in this journey embarked together, and it's very important that we learn from the past experience and we all work together. So. My expectation is that we work very closely together.
Okay, so we had now quite a lot of keywords about listening to each other and about engaging, and we have announced in our agenda a point that is called open panel. And now I would like to introduce what this means. We have here, maybe you wondered already, an empty seat. It's a kind of hot seat. We would like to invite everyone in the room, and we apologize to the online participants that this is exclusively for the ones in the room, to share your thoughts, maybe join the discussion, join us here up on the panel, ask a question to Bernhard, to Mina, maybe even to me, make an intervention, or mention your own highlights or your own recommendations. So we have here now the empty seat, and I would hope that someone will scramble now to come up here and make an intervention. So please, it's open.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, firstly, a big thank you for the coordinator of the Policy Answer. Without her, the things will not have gone so well as they did. Elke's work and communication has been as well the school for us as well during the meantime. She has never been tired, she has never been angry, she has never given up, gave up every challenges. And I thank you personally to her. I give a big thank you as well. And I hope that the next policy answer will go at the same pace as the policy answers has gone. That's my wish. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, that was a very welcome first intervention. So who would like to go next? I see someone getting up over there. Please, there is a hot seat. A question and intervention.
I will use it.
I already know the person, so this is Edith Herzog from Science Business. We're going to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Elke. Thanks very much. My name is Edith Herzog from Science Business, chairing the widening group. And as you can imagine, all the Western Balkan countries belong to the widening. Yeah? So I will speak a bit from the widening perspective to the community. And yes, my first words goes to thanks and congratulations to the Commission and to the policy answer project and all the stakeholders. I have seen the progress over years, and I know the region quite well, being originally Hungarian, although I'm living for quite a long time in Brussels. I was MEP before. So I have seen the progress, and I am absolutely sure that this is the right way to do. Yeah, so that's my first message. I see the synergy between Science Business Widening Initiative and the Policy Answers project and the continuation as well, because what you do, you build a cohesion and align policies, and it's a very right way to do, because only the linear network development, either domain or country specific, is not enough. You cannot catch the goldfish only with the net, not with the one piece of something hanging in the, so you have much bigger chance to create a network to catch the goldfish. And the science business is about to amplify the message, talk directly to the stakeholders, and amplify your voice also in Brussels. Yeah? The widening countries have a very valid opinion, but very often lost in the vertical silos. Yeah? And the message cannot get through because we are always in minority. Yes? So we are doing this, amplifying the voice. Regarding the content, as a former politician, I'd like to say three very short messages. The first, which was not yet said today, the new report from Letta, which is now deeply discussed in the committee, in the council, and in the Brussels bubble in general, has a crucially important element. It is about the right to stay. European Union and the mobility of the European Union includes that people want to stay and they want to be happy where they are. Yeah? So we need to bring all the benefits of the European Union, and this will be the way when the local people will stay in the local place and can enjoy the benefit of the Union to create a prosperity of the region. Yeah? So I think this right to stay is a crucial element for the future. The second one, I'd like to say, that the narrative matters. As a politician, as a mother of five, I learned that you have to visualize things. Yeah? So when I started the widening, I asked the audience, which I do now, what would be the fairy tale for you to describe the widening region? And when I asked this question previously, to give you some help, some people said, oh, they are the sleeping beauty. Yeah, they are very nice, but they are sleeping. That's the Western European view. When I asked it in the region, then they said, yeah, the best version was that it's a Cinderella story. Yeah? We don't have the accessories to go to the ball. Yeah, probably that's my reading. But then somebody said to me, no, this is a Snow White. And everything we receive from the West is a very healthy apple, but maybe it's a toxic, yeah, because we always lose. Somebody else said, no, Edith, we are the ugly duckling. They don't see that we are swans. Yeah? So come to me after the meeting, tell me what is your fairy tale, because the narrative matters. And the last thing, I need my bag. We discussed in the European Union so much about perfection and going for perfect. But what is perfect? And I developed the example for the previous meetings because the perfect shape, we are shaping Europe, is the bubble. Yeah? It's a perfect. Yeah? But in the nature, the bubble is never perfect. It's an egg. Yeah? It's a shape of egg. Yeah? Because the big pressure here and there. So is it perfect? It's perfect. The European Parliament used the egg shape for each of these buildings, yeah, in Strasbourg. It's all about the eggs. So perfection is not a bubble, perfection is the egg. And therefore we developed in the widening community, the Widening Community Award, which is the egg, yeah, the little egg, which I'd like to distribute for 4 people here. One, it goes to Nina. Yeah, so Nina, keep it on your table. I'd like to say that, for instance, the ITRE chair in the parliament has also the egg on his table, so we are moving. Then you have 1 egg, but I'd like to give you another one for GRC. And then I have another egg to give to Elke, of course. And I have 3 other eggs to distribute today. This is for the 2 speakers from the previous panels, which we organized together in the widening. So Nenad and Sinisa, you have my 2 eggs because you are previous speakers. And one, of course, 1 egg goes to Bela. Yeah? So this is my contribution today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the hot seat contribution. It will be difficult to be the next one after you. But I do see some, please.
So yeah, thank you very much. My name is Alexei Savrasov. I represent UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Thank you so much for having us. Congratulations on the successful completion of this phase of the project. And my message on behalf of UNIDO as follows. We have tools, instruments, expertise, and resources in our hands. And as UNIDO, we are here to support the project in very, very practical terms. And what we have done so far. We launched, and it is now ongoing, Western Balkans-wide study of the innovation ecosystems readiness for the Industry 4.0 technologies. We looked at, well, all the countries, survey focus groups. We looked at the government level, so the policies to support the businesses. We looked at business support organizations. And we'll look at the businesses themselves and look at the cross-cutting issues, whether or not the innovation ecosystem is actually delivering what it's supposed to be delivering, whether or not business support organizations deliver what companies need, and whether or not the government institutions are aligned with the actual readiness on the ground, the need for support, and the capacities and the readiness to support from the business support organizations. So what we see in the data right now, and this is something that we would definitely, channel our support on behalf of UNIDO in the coming months or years. And yes, yesterday we were at FINO conference, we were discussing finance. So finance, of course, businesses, they need the access to finance, but what's the second most important issue that influences the ability of a company to adopt advanced technologies? Skills. It's, the correlations that we see are very, very strong there. What it means, companies within a competitive environment of course, are pressured to adopt new technologies. Yes, if you are a business in the Western Balkans and all of a sudden an advanced company next to you takes up a digital twin and the, the productivity is 30% more, you have to compete with that. And you have to take up the technologies. So the success of the implementation of the technology is driven first and foremost by the capacities of the companies themselves. They have to be ready to acquire those technologies. They experiment, they take 5 technologies and they consider, okay, where do we go deep? They select, and the depth of the adoption and therefore the ability to translate it into the twin transition, green and digital, and increase the profits, therefore create jobs, therefore improve the livelihoods in the region. It's driven by the skills of the people who actually implement it on the ground. So what does it mean, and what we will be using it for? We're developing a digital dashboard where we will show for the illustrative purposes the findings of this survey, the correlations that we see, and all of that is to provide a tool for evidence-based policy. Where do you intervene exactly? Yes? So cross-cutting findings, and maybe you will find them interesting. The governments think that companies actually deal better with the new technologies that they are on the ground, that the companies themselves report. Governments are ready to support, business support organizations are ready to support, but some of the companies say, we only know what we know. So as a matter of fact, the information does not go through, and this is the first thing, and probably the easiest, yes, but it's still an issue for some of the companies that we saw. So we will deliver this dashboard that will illustrate the findings, and we are now considering to develop so-called policy simulator of elasticities and simulating an intervention with a policy with a specific budget, targeting specific number of companies, what will be the effect? Yes, again, to guide. So my message would be, please join us to develop this tool further, then to validate this tool, because without your input, it will stay in the academic world, if you'd like. It's grounded in theory, of course, but it needs to be validated by you. Look at it, whether or not the findings that are there align with what you see every day, on the ground. Then, this is the tool, yes, we will deliver it. Second, we are ready to support in capacity building. We are ready to support in practical workshops. So this is something, and we started discussing it, yes, with Bernhard. Let's align, we will be there, we will bring the policy advice experts to deliver exactly this. And as the next step, again, I'm inviting and I'm encouraging you to get in touch with us and get very active in developing this tool. It will be useful for the governments in the region. It will be useful for the business support organizations. Thank you very much.
I saw quite a few people nodding their heads.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have two people already queuing here for the hot seat. So please, come on, this is perfect. I was wondering how we would need to motivate, but please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Nenad Celarevic. I work for Helvetas, and I also got a present. Thank you, Edith, very much. This is what I was not expecting. So I want to thank you for the invitation and thank you for the great collaboration over the years, even before Policy Answer, and I hope also after in the policy large, in the new project. I mean, we heard a lot of things, and I usually come with one topic in this community. And I'm very happy that I can again underline the topic of social science and importance of Western Balkans and Eastern Partnership countries joining the European research infrastructure in the field of social sciences. This is something what we were advocating earlier, helping countries, facilitating this process, working with researchers and getting support also from the Commission, from other institutions like ZSI in this process. Thank you for recognizing the importance of social sciences. Evidence-based policy making was mentioned a few times. If we want high quality process of developing good policies, we first need good data. We need comparable data, we need data to which we can trust. For this, we need to strengthen also a community of researchers in the field of social sciences. It would be great if we would have more time to debate. I'm very happy to hear the target of 3% for science. Then my question is always, how much of this goes to social sciences? You know, is there a target? Will that target be respected? And it's our we all need to have responsibility not to forget and to invest. Because if you look what Commission, for example, and what countries are funding in the region, and how come then that it's still very difficult to fund basic research in the field of research infrastructures for social sciences and humanities, then you start wondering why is that? And what we can do more to support this process. 10 years ago, when you look the map, for example, on European Social Survey, you would see that countries in the Western Balkans would be empty or gray, while all the others colored in some color, like those we joined. We started to change and to make countries from the Balkans also joining, but there is still more to be done. There will be also one more Horizon project, ESS Innovate, under under this project we will continue to work on this process. I want to thank one more time to Bernard, to Elke for great work. It was a real pleasure, but you are not going anywhere. The project is finishing, and it's like, I think the egg is symbolizing also the new beginning. You know, so this is a bit of the process for Bela and his project, but also for the work which is there. This open mic reminds me a bit on a stand-up open mic that you need to come and, you know, to say something funny, and then someone else will come. But I leave that to Sinisha. When he comes, he is much better. But there is one colleague before Sinisha. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, there is a queue, and I'm encouraging the ladies as well. There is one.
Hello, I am Mauro. I come from the College of Europe, here at the new campus in Tirana. First, thank you very much for organizing this conference. It's a great opportunity to learn about the region, about the initiatives that the EU is doing. I would like to talk about brain drain, because I was positively surprised when Bernard mentioned it. It's my field of specialization, brain drain and the Albanian labor market in general. Talking about Albania, around 50% of the citizens of this country live abroad, and the Western Balkans lose citizens every year. Brain drain is mentioned by Albanian businesses as one of the main risks for the economic development of the country. And my question, and this relates to the policy-based, evidence-based policy. With data from the German Marshall Fund, 98% of patents filed here in Albania are done by returnees. 75% of patents in Bosnia-Herzegovina are filed by returnees, and 71% of patents in Serbia are filed by returnees. So we can see that brain drain is a huge issue, and however, brain return has a great return for the countries. So I would love, now that we have a lot of practitioners here in the room, I would love to know if your organization, your country, or the EU is doing something to promote not only brain circulation, but also brain return to the Western Balkans. And again, thank you very much for organizing this conference, and thank you, Bernard, for raising the topic on brain drain, because it's a real issue and that people here notice a lot, because this country has lost many, many inhabitants, and it's a pleasure to see that people are concerned about it. Thank you.
Thank you also for the intervention. I think there was Sinisha next in the queue, so if you would like to join us. And then I had one, and then I have a second. Okay, I think we will manage those. And then we invite you to do one short reaction on, you need to leave, I know, but let's hear what...
We all need to leave before it's lunchtime.
Come on.
I know you're all fishing for compliments today, as Elke said, so I would really love to congratulate the entire team, led by Elke and ZSI. I think you did a tremendous job, and this is not false modesty. I truly believe you've accomplished a lot over the last 5 years. I recall 5 years ago, when the project was still in the design phase, we had lots of doubts. I know that during the implementation you had lots of ups and downs. It wasn't an easy process. Getting so many partners coordinated throughout so many years is quite challenging. We operate in the Western Balkans, and it's always difficult when it comes to science, innovation, research, especially when it comes to public institutions. And we all know that. However, I believe that you've done something that's extremely important, and I try to emphasize this each time I attend and I speak publicly. I believe that you've identified the key resource of any society. And most people say, when I ask them, what do you think, what is the key, the most important, critically important resource, most people say it's people, ideas, education, infrastructure, whatever. I believe they're all very, very important, but I think you touched upon hope, and hope that things can move forward, can be improved, is the critically most important resource we all need. And through this project, many, many things have been accomplished. These briefs you prepared, that everything we've heard today is a testament to that. I believe that the following project will also be another success story. We as the RCC stand ready as usual to assist in this process, and I'm not as charming as Nenad is with his, in his public appearances, but I believe you've done a really good job, and I believe you should be proud of yourselves. I know that many, many people on the ground have changed their opinions, the way they work, they approach the European Commission, the European funds. You've contributed a lot to regional networking, regional collaborations, and some of it has translated into a much, much bigger uptake of European opportunities through Horizon Europe, but also Digital Europe, Cascade funds, etc. So overall, I believe that this was a true success that requires replication. So Bella, you have a difficult task ahead of you, although you have a good team. So I believe you'll just do fine. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. We're happy to collaborate with the Regional Cooperation Council. We have, please come up. You're warmly invited to join us.
So, thank you, wonderful, and thank you for the opportunity. So I wear many hats. I'm on vacation here, and I happened to see this, and I decided to. So where do I come from? I work at the Innovation Agency of Switzerland, InnoSwiss. I'm an officer for international cooperation. So all that has been talked, wonderful, very happy that the widening perspective is still there. But something that I face at a day-to-day work is IP protocol. And if we think about policy and large, I would be very happy to see if you can think it's just legislative that has to be implemented at the government level. That's one thing. And what is the incentive for a researcher to translate his research? Because there's a dogma in some countries where they think it's tax money, it's research, I'm not allowed to make money out of it. So that's one thing. So capacity building at that age. And the other thing is the tech transfer offices, because different countries have different policies. But when we need to work together between those countries, how do we harmonize that? I think that is what I would love to bring it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And someone is on his way. Please.
Is there anybody else?
No, that's you.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Too loud? I'm very famous for having a very low volume, so if you can't hear me, just tell me. My name is Bergin, I'm a scientist, I'm a physicist, so I'm here probably to transmit a bit of the perspective of researchers on this conference, so I hope it will be useful. I don't think we are very well represented in the audience, so probably we are like 4 or 5, and it has to be remembered that we are an important stakeholder in this process, and we would like to be a bit more involved. So, for example, when we hear about policy making, we would like to know how come the Dutchies get most of the ERC prizes, so European Research Council, how they change their national grant scheme so that it matches completely the international one. We would love something like this, not only like the middle level or the low level, also a bit like the upper level. So we are going to have to compete with them, so we need to be ready. I would like to thank this lady. I forgot your name and I don't know you, but you mentioned a few pockets of excellence. You touched the problems that scientists do have in this country and I suppose in the entire region. So thank you very much. The rest probably maybe a bit, some more help from the researcher would be helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think this matches quite well. If there is the energy in the, if I read the energy in the room and also my agenda, we are supposed to hand over to the, in the meantime, very famous Bella. So this was, I think, the last contribution that we can take. And would you like to say a few sentences reflecting on what you've heard?
Where's Edith? Can't see her anymore. Oh no, she's there. So I think the future is there, and everything sort of, the energy is in it, and the new chicken should come at Easter and bring the new project. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Well, I just wanted to react to what Nenad brought to this discussion. I very much like it because these days we speak a lot about competitiveness and innovation, and actually society is the other side of the coin. And we would not have competitiveness without society, without social research, without trust, without market studies, etc. So it's super important what you brought on the agenda. And by this, I would like really to end with the Sinica mentioned the word hope. I think that what you have also created here is a trust. And it's really important for the handing over to the next project and to ensure really a trustful and efficient collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks from my side also personally for the collaboration. It was a pleasure to work with you, and I know you have now further meetings, so I'm sorry that we cannot mingle for the lunchtime, but it was a pleasure having you here, and thanks a lot for the availability to join us. And now Bela Cardon, he was mentioned quite often, Chief Scientific Officer of the Regional Center for Information and Scientific Development. You're warmly invited to the stage. You will hear now from him an introduction into the Policy Enlarge project, and you will hear more from RCISD in the future. The floor is yours, Bela.
How can I?
Here, yes.
Yes, proceed with this. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bela Cardon. I'm the coordinator of the Policy Enlarge project. I had many ideas and many possible comments for.
Microphone.
Sorry for the hot chair. But I thought that's I spare them to my not that interesting presentation to make it more interesting. Okay, just a really in nutshell about the proposal. It was a coordinating and support action to support R&I policy making in the EU enlargement countries, published mid-May. And we submitted the proposal mid-September. The budget of the envisaged budget was 3 million euros. I can start with this 3 million euros because our roadmap was several times mentioned, our possibilities, our challenges. It is really challenging because we have 60% of the resources of the previous project and 4 more countries, more than 15% more countries than the previous one. But we will try to face these challenges. If I would like to summarize the project in a nutshell, I would say the most important is maybe that it is a successor of the Policy Answers project, building on this 20 years experience. And there's really a continuity. So I remember I was there in Brussels, beginning 2004, when we planned with TSI and the ministry, and the Austrian ministry, with Mrs. Stoklaska, the first East European Eranet project. Then my first presentation here in this building, maybe even in this room, was 2012. It was about how to create synergies between cohesion policy instruments and the framework program. And I think at that time we could present good practices from Hungary, good old times, because in the framework program, excellence is supported, and how to make our institutions ready for the framework program, how to support them. We have, of course, the national resources, but we have additional EU resources, the European social funds, the European regional development funds, and these funds can be used if politicians would like to use them to enhance excellence, to make the organizations ready for the framework program. And this I presented here in 2012, and maybe 4 years ago I met here a former minister who remembered my presentation. Of course, we would like to support research and policy making in the field of research and innovation, the policy making, not only in the widening, not only in the Western Balkans, but also in all 10 enlargement countries. Competition was mentioned here several times, and I have an Ars Poetica. I'm sorry, I don't have this slide now here, but I will speak about it because we always speak about competition, and this was mentioned at least in two comments today, and they are very in line with my idea. Many speak about competition, and everybody knows that we need competitive enterprises. And competitive enterprises always try to have competitive labor force. But not all make the next step. Where is competitive labor force coming from in the 21st century? In the information society, competitive labor force, at least a high percent of competitive labor force, is coming from competitive higher education institutions, and higher education will never be competitive without competitive research and innovation. And this is where we have to help this region, because everybody knows that research and innovation is, of course, much more competitive, let's say, in Netherlands, like in Hungary. I don't want to mention your countries, but if I look on my country, then there is still space for development. So we have to strengthen the evidence-based research and innovation policies. We must help our politicians and our policymakers to make the countries ready for research and innovation. It was mentioned that researchers don't dare to think about marketing their results. I remember I attended once an Alpbach forum in Austria, and there an Austrian minister said that the definition of basic research is not that it is not applicable. Okay, the geographical scope of our project, we have all the Western Balkans. We kept, of course, all of you, and we added 4 enlargement countries, Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, and Turkey. And in our approach, we have 5 pillars. It's a policy dialogue, it's guidance and learning, a kind of assistance, help to you to develop yourself. We have a financial support scheme. We will have trainings, and of course, always the stakeholder engagement. Okay, if you look on the countries, I will not read the consortium. We have 4 countries from the EU and the 10 enlargement economies. We have in the consortium 15 beneficiaries from 14 countries, and we have 6 associated partners. If you look on the countries, from the enlargement countries, you can see these are all widening countries, and these are all associated to the framework program. I will come back to this idea later. Just a word about the associated partners. There is one consortium partner, number 16, who has quite a similar role like the beneficiaries, and will be very much engaged not only in the dissemination and exploitation and communication activities, but they will help in all kinds of training activities to make the partners aware of the importance of the creative industries. The other associated partners are kind of supporters, national agencies and ministries. Okay, here we have the work packages. Policy dialogue is led by the former coordinator, the Center for Social Innovation Austria. Policy guidance and learning is led by DLR, also former consortium member and an old partner of us. Joint skills and functions, the FSTP will be led by Funding Box, a new partner. The capacity building will be led by us. Stakeholder engagement, communication, dissemination, exploitation, again by the Center for Social Innovation, and of course we are the work package leader for project management. In work package 1, we will keep the steering platform, and we will have, of course, the ministerials enlarged with the ministers of the 4 other countries. So it will be a continuation of the policy dialogue, and of course this will be supported by online dialogue events. If I go to the second work package, policy guidance and learning, here I think the integration of these countries in the European research area is very, very, very much important. Of course, you are associated to the framework program, but it was already mentioned, by time, step by step, you will become member of the European Union. Science diplomacy was mentioned here previously. I was a Hungarian science diplomat 1999 in Germany when Hungary became associated with the FIMS framework program. And I started to use the phrase that we have the foot in the door. Hungarian researchers are already members of the European Union. And this is a unique possibility for your countries. And this is also a learning procedure because research and innovation policy is much more forward maybe than other policies. And administrators, policymakers, politicians can learn from those who implement research and innovation policy, how to handle this with European institutions. This is a unique possibility for all of you in this region. So we will support these actions with different workshops, targeting mainly research infrastructures, knowledge valorization, and science-business cooperation, business research and development. This is a new tool in the project, the financial support to third parties. 300,000 euro will be available for this. There will be small grants for joint regional innovation actions, for collaborative uptake of results, and for people-to-people cooperation projects. And of course, this will be published on the funding tenders portal, but only partners from the 10 enlargement economies will be able to participate in this calls and projects. Work Package 4, it's a capacity building for the 10 enlargement economies. We would like, it is a bit continuation of the previous capacity building activities. Each partner will receive from the enlargement economies 50,000 euro, and the programs will be developed by the partners. So we didn't say in advance what should happen in Serbia or in Turkey or in Albania. We will develop these trainings together with the enlargement countries to come closer to the framework program, to implement better the smart specialization strategies, technology transfer, etc. So, and who can participate? This question was raised in the coffee break. I would say almost everybody, because there are researchers, higher education institutions, research institutions, SMEs, startups. If there's an NGO who is active in research and innovation, of course it will be eligible to participate. So this is a unique possibility to you to develop yourself. And of course, once during the implementation of these trainings, we will use all the possibilities to share good practices and to look forward what can be developed, how this can be developed. And I hope this will be even a sign also for policymakers and politicians. The Lisbon targets were mentioned here to raise the expenditure on research and innovation. If I may have a comment on this, I remember this was set the first time for 2010. That time in the EU, only Finland and Sweden could reach it, not even Germany. In Hungary, we were quite far from it. For the next 10 years, 2020 headline goals, it was allowed to have a bit more realistic targets for the less developed countries. So we set 1.8%, did not reach it yet. We are somewhere between 1.4 and 1.8, 1.6. So there is still a lot of job to do. So I would say, if I would we had some discussions about it with policymakers in the region. Let's set 3% and try to push the politicians, or let's set a realistic target. But even sometimes the so-called realistic targets are hard to reach. But we have to increase the expenditure on research and innovation to be competitive. I don't have slides about the two last work packages, because these are supporting work packages. These are horizontal work packages. We have the work package, of course, for communication, dissemination, exploitation, stakeholder involvement, and the info hub, which will, and this work package will support all the activities of the project, and this will be led by the Center of Social Innovation. This is again a continuity of the project, and Work Package 6 is the management, which will we manage and try to go in this challenging way as good as possible, because I see many challenges in our project. Thank you very much for your attention.
Wonderful. So thank you very much, Bela. This is, I think, a lot to look forward to. And for me, it is to thank not just you, but also thank the colleagues from the European Commission and all the other VIPs that joined us today, which are all of you. Thank you very much. Thanks a million to the hosts here at Nasri, to Robert, Imirion, Andy, Mirella, and Alba as well. She's not here today. And I would also like to now call for a big applause to the organizing team. The main organizer was my colleague Desiree, with Samire, Ulrike, Francesca, and all the others here. The program is now closed, so there is a family picture that we would like to still take with all of you. We would like to congregate you in a corner with our flip charts. So please help us with that, and maybe our colleagues from the technical side can help us then at the end with the family picture. Then there is lunch in the La Pergola restaurant, second floor of this hotel. And the program has not yet closed, it's just the program here. We are having a study visit to our colleagues from Berletti University. You might have seen also a partner in Policy Enlarge. At 1:50, the bus is going to be ready. Departure will be at 2, so please join us in a punctual way. And now, join me for the family picture and for the lunch. Thanks for closing this milestone with us.